Fertility treatments are so expensive that most people can only afford it with insurance coverage. It's become a big election issue. A new report looks at how often American workers have access to that coverage. NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin reports.
One round of in vitro fertilization, or IVF, can cost you $20,000. The process involves retrieving eggs from ovaries, fertilizing those eggs in a lab, and then transferring an embryo into the uterus. It can take several rounds to get pregnant and have a baby. A new survey from KFF, the nonprofit research organization, finds that only about 1 in 4 companies have health plans that cover IVF. It's a little better for large companies. Just over half of them offer IVF coverage. On the campaign trail, like at this rally in Michigan in August, former President Donald Trump has made this promise.
That under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women.
Trump's promise came after IVF was shut down temporarily in Alabama. The Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank, estimated that if the federal government picked up the tab for everyone's IVF, it would have to pay $7 billion each year. A new federal mandate for insurers to pay would likely face legal challenges, as the mandate to cover birth control did. Meanwhile, congressional Democrats have been pushing for the Right to IVF Act, saying they are the party that champions this care. It has been blocked by Republicans twice. Matthew Ray, who ran the survey for KFF, says even though the U.S. is a long way off from IVF for all, employers do seem to be adding the benefit.
Sometimes these things go in waves and there's interest in an issue for a period of time, and other times there's sort of prolonged issue. I mean, it's hard to know.
So the future of IVF coverage could depend on the outcome of the election, the labor market, reproductive rights court cases, and more. Selena Simmons-Duffin, NPR News, Washington.
This summer in California, there was big news. People who work indoors in places like warehouses and restaurants were getting protections from working in dangerous heat. The next step, getting information about the new rules out to the people who need it most. Alexandra Barunda with NPR's Climate Desk went to Oakland for one of the first training sessions introducing workers to the new policies.
A small group of men and women sit in a circle in a classroom near the Oakland waterfront. They introduce themselves by acting out their favorite hobbies.
My name is Anton Lute, and I like to...
Beat maker? Make beats. Oh, he's a music maker.
Hi, I'm Derek Crockett, and I like to...
Play cards.
They're here to learn about California's new rule that it requires employers to keep people who work indoors safe from extreme heat. Only one other state in the country has anything like it, and there's no federal rule protecting people. Yet millions work in places like warehouses or industrial laundries, and they deal with dangerous heat all the time, especially as human-caused climate change makes hot weather even hotter. Alejandra Domesain works with the Labor Occupational Health Program at the University of California, Berkeley. She's leading this training.
All right, so this is what we're going to do today. We want to make sure that you know how to identify heat hazards.
And she wants to make sure the group knows what the rules are so they can advocate for themselves and their colleagues. When temperatures get into the 80s, workers get breaks and water. When it gets into the upper 80s, employers have to cool things down or at least give workers a cool break space. More than 1 million Californians are now covered by the rule, including everyone in this room. Domensain lays out the stakes.
There's actually people that die from heat illness every year. So we don't want you to be one of them or even anywhere close to that.
Daniel Christopher is already painfully aware.
Me and heat don't get along.
He lives in Contra Costa County. He worked for years in the oil and gas industry. Once he was on a job in the San Joaquin Valley when things got dire.
Beaming sun, 3, 4, 5 hours, no air circulation, no shade, and you stop sweating.
That's heat stroke. He's describing heat stroke.
We get home and it's like cold showers, Gatorade, and your core is still hot. And ice cold showers, you don't even feel, it doesn't even feel like anything.
Christopher always thought it was a risk he just had to take working outside.
Me and a coworker of mine, we joke about it to this day. We still stay in touch. We almost died out there. It was that bad.
But at the time, there weren't rules protecting even outdoor workers like them. Those came into existence later and are in place in California now, but not in most other states.
Job's got to get done. I have a workload for the day. You don't have a choice. Either that or you just quit.
Christopher says it was a welcome surprise to hear about California's new indoor heat rules. Anton Lute was also excited.
We'll be able to help other people who weren't in this classroom, and we'll be knowledgeable enough to help them in heat situations.
To do that, the group practices how they'd push back on bosses who don't follow the rules. Lute plays an overheated worker. Christopher plays the bad boss.
I'm dizzy. Yeah. I'm mumbling.
Well, don't fall off.
I'm distraught.
Well, don't fall off the bow of my shit.
Medical attention. Who we gonna call?
Ghostbusters!
Actually, they're probably going to call the union or health inspectors. But now they know that they can call someone. Doman Sain sums it up.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you get one body, right? You get one life.
The Occupational Health and Safety Administration is working on a nationwide heat rule for indoor and outdoor workers, but experts say it's probably years away. But for these 10 California workers, at least they've got the tools to be a little bit safer in the heat now. Alejandra Borunda, NPR News.
When it comes to boring, repetitive, physically taxing jobs, robots are seemingly perfect. No breaks are needed, and there's no risk robots will get sick or suddenly quit. And American factories have invested in a lot of them over the last few years. Now, though, manufacturers are buying fewer robots to automate tasks. Here to tell us more is our reporter Bob Tita. So, Bob, what was behind the demand for factory robots over the past few years?
Well, coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of factories, a lot of employers were short on people because obviously some people were sick, other people quit during the pandemic, and so there was a shortage of employees, and factories, manufacturers needed people for production jobs.
We're talking about factory robots. What is the state of U.S. industrial production right now?
Well, industrial production has been stagnant in the past year or so. The industrial sector overall has been weakening in recent months, and so there has been a drop-off from what we saw in the previous 2 or 3 years because a lot of industrial activity, again, was being driven by COVID because we had a lot of demand for consumer goods, a lot of demand for raw materials, and so there was a big surge in growth during that period, and now it's starting to come down the other side of the mountain a little bit.
So how big is the dip in orders for robots across North America?
Last year, 2023, robot orders dropped about 30% through the first 6 months of this year, January through June. The reduction was just under 8%. That's according to the Association for Advancing Automation, the industry's trade group. Some of that is largely driven, as I said, by just less manufacturing, less industrial activity, but also higher interest rates. So it costs companies more when they buy robots and finance them. They have to pay higher interest rates. So that's been a factor too.
What are the costs associated with putting in a factory robot?
It's the purchase of the robot itself, and you have to figure out how quickly am I going to get a return on that investment. And also, the factory robots have to be deployed, programmed, so that takes a little bit of work also.
We tend to think of robots as being cheaper than human labor, but is that not necessarily the case?
It is over time, certainly. If you have 2 shifts at your plant and you have 2 sets of people come in, if you're using a robot or robots, that's the same robot that works the first and second shift, although your upfront costs are more. And so that's been the limiting factor in recent months for a lot of manufacturers that haven't wanted to spend the money because they don't have the business.
Let's talk about some of the other things that are causing this dip. How have labor market changes affected demand for robots?
There's more human workers available than there were, say, 3 years ago. So the labor market has settled down. There are more people willing to do the sort of factory work again. The labor market is tilted a little bit more in favor of manufacturing companies at the moment.
Bob, in North America, the car industry is the largest user of industrial robots. How have conditions in the auto industry impacted demand there?
Well, there was a big surge in robot orders because a lot of the car manufacturers anticipated that there would be a big migration to electric vehicles, so they were all retooling factories for more production of electric vehicles. Demand for electric vehicles hasn't been as great as anticipated a couple years ago. Auto companies have delayed the start of some models and pulled back on some of their investments in electric vehicles just because the demand isn't there.
You spoke with an executive at an automotive supplier who stuck with human labor, even though just a couple years ago they thought they'd be bringing in a robot to do some of those tasks. Why did they make that decision?
It's largely an economic one. If you're thinking that I'm going to have a lot of work and that my production volume is going to be very high, then I might buy a robot because I'll get, a lot of work out of that robot. If my orders are fairly low, I can sort of redeploy people in my shop to do that work and save myself some money.
Bob, is it fair to think of this situation as kind of a robot layoff, or is it just a slowdown in robot hiring?
It's just a slowdown in robot hiring. In manufacturing, and demand rises and falls, and so at the moment demand isn't there. Demand for robots will come back when demand for higher production is there, and probably lower interest rates as well. That makes them easier to finance. Automation is here to stay. It's just slowing down a little bit.
All right, that was our reporter, Bob Tita.
Billie Holiday, I sing your blues. Bet your life against me and I swear to God you'll lose it. Motherfuck the cops, we still singing for St. Louis. Motherfuck the cops, we still singing for St. Louis. Motherfuck the cops, we still singing for St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Public Radio. Students at the Goldfarb School of Nursing are swapping CPR dummies for talking mannequins and virtual reality goggles. As St. Louis Public Radio's Lauren Brennicke reports, the Clinical Simulation Institute uses the latest technology to prepare students for the chaos of a real hospital.
David Sturman is a nursing student at the Goldfarb School of Nursing at Barnes Jewish College. He has 2 terms to go until he can work in a real hospital, but he's already practicing in a simulated one.
All right, so what's going on? What brought you in? Do you know?
He's wearing virtual reality goggles and using them to talk to Charlotte, who has paranoid schizophrenia.
Where are we right now? Do you know?
He's living right in my brain.
Sturman peers through the goggles, trying to check Charlotte's vitals. A professor sits near him, toggling through the simulation. Sturman finishes his first virtual reality experience and says he feels more confident.
It's reduced my anxiety for, when it comes to patient interactions, especially psychs. Those are a gentle subject, and it could require reassessments constantly.
Virtual reality experiences have been part of Goldfarb's process for about a year. In the obstetrics lab, students use VR as a computer tells them where to examine the patient.
The posterior aspect of the fetal anterior shoulder.
Wonderful. Great to know. Katie Jett is the pre-licensure program director at Goldfarb. She says the program has made a huge technological leap compared to 20 years ago when she went to nursing school.
We had one lab with 4 beds and 1 mannequin that wasn't electronic. It didn't have vital signs. It was, it was bare bones.
Student Jamori Robertson says the simulated emergencies prepared him for the pediatric emergency room at Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital, where he shadows nurses.
In situations, I feel like when you know what to do, it calms you. It also makes it easier for you to, navigate things instead of freaking out.
Robertson's nearly finished with his year-long program to become a registered nurse. He says by December, he'll feel more than ready to work outside the simulation. I'm Lauren Brennicke, St. Louis Public Radio.
It's okay. See, the code doesn't say nothing against somebody going into business. That's, going into business is just going into business. That's all. If you can find a business to go into where you can make some money. There are some black people who are in business. They run in little barbecue stands or something, or a chuck wagon.
The vibrations of 90s reggae music welcome patrons to a New York-style convenience store tucked neatly into the back of the first-floor food hall of Pond City Market. Born and raised in Brooklyn, Larea Gaston, who is rocking green hair and nails, owns Larea's Bodegas, where the drinks on the menu are named after black and brown celebrities.
I think the funniest one is Tyler Berry. We have a Tyler Berry and a Holly Berry. And the Tyler Berry is an acai berry smoothie. A hazy Jay-Z, there's Cardi Bacardi. We got a John Coltrane. That's a cold brew.
Gaston says bodegas are often found in food deserts, communities lacking access to healthy food. So she built this place to be a platform for influencing a healthier lifestyle. And it was rough.
It was very hard to get support when people didn't understand this vision because it hasn't been done. So there was no point of reference. What we did, you can't find this anywhere.
A very common experience for black-owned businesses here. When she searched for resources that would help take her business to the next level, she found the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs. Jay Bailey is the CEO of RICE. The center helps support local startups scale up.
And I think it's probably one of the greatest investments the city could make if we started investing in the power of ideas and the systems and the institutions that help those ideas come to life.
He's sitting at a table that contains a scale model of Atlanta divided by I-20.
If you look closer at the table, the triangle that's in our logo is positioned on that table, and it's a reminder to us consistently how we sit at the nexus of access, opportunity, and exposure for our community.
He says there's a long wait list for people trying to get a spot at RICE, so more support should be opened up citywide. The city of Atlanta has opened grants and funds for black entrepreneurs, but it's not enough, as minority businesses still see stark disparities in business loans, government contracts, and an over-reliance on credit.
That's perhaps our only resource to start our vision, our dream of a business.
That's Tiffany Bussey, the executive director of the Morehouse Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center.
It's unfortunate, but that's where we are.
Bussey says we need to rethink funding for black businesses and even try something inspired by her Caribbean roots.
So Susu is where you get together in a small group and everybody put in $25 or $100 and then you draw and takes turn. We need to go back to perhaps a more higher level of Susu for crowdfunding and businesses.
Institutions like RICE are set to expand in the coming years, and many are delighted to see such a fountain of black innovation developing in Atlanta as policies and the upcoming presidency could reshape the future. Marlon Hyde, WABE News.
See, because black people have this thing, we got to get together. Get together and do what? Have a party. See? That's all we can think about. And then when we go there, we don't know what we're supposed to do when we get there. That's why we do anything. Before the thing is over, it lasts long enough, somebody's going to get hurt. Because we don't know what to do. We don't even know how to have a party without it being destructive. So this thing about white people wanting to come together with black people in a nightclub, no. See, if Mr. Prince was in here himself, I would say, no, wait a minute. You're a businessman, even though you're an entertainer. See, I'm quite sure when it comes to receipt time and all like that, Mr. Prince, see, he gets down to business back there in the cashier's office. You know, well, I mean, I got my videos out here now. I mean, let's talk business. It gets like the mafia back there, see. I mean, you know, where's the money?
Idris Elba has had a string of honors for his acting, including most recently an Emmy nomination for the Apple TV hit series Hijack. He's been recognized for his role in any number of characters. The title character in the thriller Luther.
Why does he make an announcement? Why does he make an announcement right now? Tell you why? Because something's coming. And whatever it is, he needs an audience. That's the kind of personality he is. He needs an audience.
And in the American version of The Office.
I am aware of the effect I have on women.
Well, if that doesn't show his range, he is also an internationally successful electronic music artist and DJ. And now Idris Elba is an executive producer of a documentary series for CBC Gem. It's called Paid in Full, The Battle for Black Music. Here is our conversation with Idris Elba. Idris Elba, good morning.
Good morning, how you doing?
I'm well, thanks. Tell me a little bit about how this ends up on your desk, this project that looks at how the music industry has ripped off black artists over time.
You know, it was actually a grouping of producers that brought this to me. I was fascinated by the idea of, exploring this territory. And as a producer, someone that sort of works in the music industry as well, it just really piques my interest. So my team, my company, and our co-producers sort of worked at it.
There's been a long history of musicians being ripped off by the music industry and by labels and others in the industry. How is that different for black artists? How has it been worse for black artists over time?
I mean, I guess, the series sort of explores the sort of machinations of how, musicians get exploited. And, there are so many musicians that works, prolific works that just haven't been accounted for, in the publishing, in the, playing rights and such. And it's one of these areas that the deeper you dive, the more you sort of paints a sort of dark picture of exploitation. And I think that's what, the show sort of really leans into. It's worse for black artists because there's so much music that's been unaccounted for. There's so many origins of music that come from black musicians, and those origins have never, for the most part, haven't been sort of recognized. And that's why, in the focus of this documentary, it's worse.
There are shocking stories in this that I think, to your point, people may not be aware of. Stories of people like Nina Simone, one of the greatest singers of all time.
I put a spell on you because you're mine.
I mean, being outspoken in many ways cost her. She talks about how there are records that she has that have never been released. People like Billie Holiday and Bessie Smith and Chuck Berry. I mean, when you take a look at those stories from history, is there one or two that stand out in terms of artists that should have been well taken care of that weren't?
Well, yeah, Nina Simone, fascinating story. For sure, Nina's story is a tragic one.
I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you anyhow. And I don't care if you don't want me, I'm yours right now.
Otis Redding is surprising also, considering the impact his music has had.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes.
What happened specifically with Otis Redding? For people who don't know, they Sitting on the Dock of the Bay and a couple of other tunes, but for people who don't know the story of him, what happened?
Otis Redding, everyone knows him, knows his music. He died young, and post his death, his wife had to really, really struggle to get his music paid for, and the exploitation of it, she had to be very protective of it. Otis Redding's estate had to really fight for his music after his death.
I left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay, 'cause I've had nothing to live for, and look like nothing's gonna come my way, so I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay.
Again, it's one of countless stories of this, what's been happening with a lot of black music.
Wasting time.
It's not just music from 50s and 60s that this happened to. You take a look at someone like Prince.
I never meant to call you when it's all over.
Who famously changed his name to a symbol and wrote slave on his face.
I never meant to cause you any pain.
What should we learn from the story of Prince?
Well, I think, when we understand, what Prince went through, you sort of really delve into how labels actually work. And, what we learn is that, you sign your music to a label, which for the most part is usually meant to be a business partnership that works in both ways, right? The talent comes along, and the label helps amplify that talent's music around the world.
Purple rain, purple rain.
But what you're finding is that there are these incredibly restrictive contracts that, basically tie the artist up, and it's more of a business contract than it is a celebration of the music. And, Prince has albums upon albums of unreleased music because of those restrictions. And I think you'll find, as you said, Nina Simone has unreleased music, and this is one of the restrictions that you find happening with some of these really archaic contracts that, you know, these days artists are more independent, and they've understood that, where, you know, the label's positioning all still being important, but the business relationship between the artists and the labels need to be a lot more fair.
It's interesting because the series also looks at some of the black industry moguls, people who ostensibly would have the good interests of their artists at heart. Berry Gordy comes in and creates Motown, but perhaps it doesn't all work out for the artists even when he's there, when a black man is helping to run that label. You have Master P, you have Jay-Z who helps create Rockefeller. What should we learn from their experiences, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think, you know, the music industry has these incredibly, you know, restrictive ways of working that, you know, are essentially law. You know, it's all contracted. These are legal documents that bind these artists into these situations. And you've seen that exploitation in various types, whether it's black, white, but the music industry has those, you know, those plentiful stories.
How much has changed now, do you think?
I think that the artist is in control a lot. You know, digitization of music has made it so that everyone has a way of putting their music out independently. You know, if your music is what people want to hear, people will find it. Where, you know, back in the day, the labels were the ones that could distribute music. But these days, you know, you can distribute your entire album from your phone. So, you know, the power is now lifted away from just having the label, but is, you know, in the hands of the artists. And I think that's the main significant change, is that the artist is in control a lot more now.
The series highlights someone like Chance the Rapper, who never signed to a major record label and still was able to become incredibly successful just by kind of running things on his own.
Yeah, there's, you know, a real connection between the fan base and the artist. You know, the artists are now connecting directly to their fans, and those fans actually have a slightly more, you know, better relationship with their artist. They feel a sense of ownership where they can go directly to the artist and buy their music and get their music.
The issue of reparations is something that people have talked about across society for a long time, but this comes up as well in this series, looking at reparations for those artists who were exploited or ripped off in past. What do you make of that? How would something like that work, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know how it would work exactly, and it's definitely a subject that has, you know, far-reaching implications. It's a subject that people are sensitive about broaching. But I suspect that, you know, if we're going to move forward and musicianship can be sort of respected, one has to look at history. You have to look at the past. You know, if it means, you know, the foundation of the house that you live in isn't working, isn't laid down right, you fix the foundation before you keep building, right? And so I think with reparations, I think that's, you know, something to be considered, because, you know, this music is still out there. It still has value. People are still discovering it. And so therefore, you know, the ownership of that music still lives with the artist, right?
And so if the belief is that black music is the foundation of so much modern music now, the people who helped create that music, or at the very least their descendants, their families, should be compensated if they weren't when they were alive.
I think that, you know, when you look at it like that, you have to sort of really examine how that works, okay? And, you know, I want to be like sort of the expert on how reparations should work, or, you know, have an opinion on it, because I'm really not qualified. But I will say that, you know, music for an artist and their family is their generational wealth, right? Their catalog is their generational wealth. And that should be, put in the hands of those that deserve it, those that own it, those that made that music, That's what I think.
In addition to helping produce this, I mean, you're also, as I said, a musician yourself. You recently signed a record deal. How difficult is it for you to navigate that industry and make sure that you get what you're due, make sure that you're paid in full?
I think it's important to understand that, I'm an independent. I sign individual records to different labels. I have a label myself. And like I said, I think the mechanism of, digitization now allows artists to be safeguarded, be in control. I can't do what a label can do for my record. So it's great to have that, opportunity to distribute it with someone. But for me, it's about having that control. It's about having that equal partnership with whoever I decide to put my music out with. It's the same with me and my label. If I have an artist, it's a partnership.
Idris Elba is the executive producer of a 3-part docuseries we were talking about earlier. It's called Paid in Full, The Battle for Black Music, and you can watch it now on CBC Gem.
Context of White Supremacy. Gus T. Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of white supremacy. Today's date, Friday, October 11, 2024. So I have been told. Our weekly summit on neutralizing workplace racism. Not for spectators. Not for spectators, especially if you have figured out some tips, suggestions, even, if you are an artist, if we got any hip-hop artists, DJs, crooners, maybe you sing a little R&B, you do the country, maybe you and Beyonce gonna do one of the country singles, whatever it is, and you figured out some tips, make sure you get compensated for all of your hit tunes, all the views for your new video, whatever sort of art you do or any sort of other business enterprise that you are in. If you have figured out some things, you will not be in the line or amongst the non-white people grousing and complaining that you don't get compensated correctly and white people stole all of your money and you don't get the recognition you're supposed to and you didn't get your promotion and you didn't get hired and yada. If you figured out anything to avoid all of that, let us know, man. We're out here struggling, been struggling for decades and having lots of the same problems. If you figured out a few tidbits that are helpful, minimizing problems, even minimizing problems with other non-white people in the workplace, because that does end up being a problem for so many non-white people all over the world. Let us know. How did you do it? Was it something policy and procedure? Was it just, basics of counter-racist logic, safety issues, anything? Let us know. Not for spectators. The number 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Email untiljustice@gmail.com. Address again, untiljustice@gmail.com. I don't even know what to say. A sign of where things are in the world. Can we get one for Prince? Sign of the times. It's like 2 weeks in a row. We started the program. It was Hurricane Helene last time. Now Hurricane Milton. Hopefully for all of the folks in the Florida area, at least from the news reports that I've seen, sitting, 2,000, 3,000 miles away from the Florida area, all the reports that I've seen, I think I have seen close to 24 deaths reported thus far, but it seems for the most part the damage was not quite as bad as they were reporting. For the most part, that is certainly within context. They still have a lot of folks who are without electricity in the Florida area, and as I said, they had close to 24 casualties reported, so things were not great, but all things considered, they were expecting it to be way bad. So hopefully folks are doing well. Hopefully you have power. Feel like we were just saying all this. Hopefully you have electricity, and if you evacuated or making your way back, things are safe and dry. If you stayed in, hopefully you have zero property damage, zero loss of life or injury, and maybe you go out and give a good sweep of the property, what have you, check the windows, and hopefully you get ready for the next storm. That'll be way later, like maybe next year. And if you work, same thing we just said, and I even heard this from some of the folks, like, hey, if you end up dying or being seriously injured in a hurricane, you think it's going to be difficult if you lose your job. Man, it might be really difficult if you end up dying. You have one of those jobs where they're reckless, they don't care about their employees or what have you. You live in an area where they had hurricanes and tornadoes in Florida. You live in one of those regions where they have storms, and they're kind of wishy-washy about the policy. They don't let you know in advance. They don't send out, they have these text chains and all of that. They'll email you and call you for any other old kind of nonsense. And, you think you can pick up vanilla wafers for the potluck tomorrow and all this old foolishness. Now, when it's major threat to life, safety, can't say that word enough, we still thinking about, or they get real draconian about it, because we talked about that before. Hey, the report says that it's just going to be a tropical storm, and get on in here, Leroy, and if you don't get in here, well, then don't come on Monday. You don't have a job, making up excuses and saying you want to stay home and sleep just because it's going to be a little wind and rain, that sort of thing. If they say that, hey, and especially if you are an attempted parent and all the rest of it, like, oh man, nah, I'm gonna have to make the best decision for my, family and all the rest of it, and we just have to make do. Can't be something where I end up staying here. I said at the beginning that they said with Milton this time around that it wasn't as bad. Hey, even with that, you did have, I just told you, almost 24 people reported dead. They did. You do have a whole lot of people with no electricity. That alone for a lot of folks is a major danger. We heard about that last week, especially if you got young children. You have older people, some people have medication, what have you, where they got to have electricity. Stumbling around in the dark and all the rest of it. If your employer is not going to do right by you, salary and or just basics of, oh my goodness, we're having catastrophic weather event, if you got to take off and take care of your family, do your best, or board up the windows or whatever, you decide you're going to evacuate or whatever, if they're not going to do right and let you know the schedule so that you can take time off or close down or whatever, that should be a choice that you talk about big time. Like, you live in Florida, you live in Georgia, you live in South Carolina, anywhere on the Gulf or anywhere in the world really, where they have storms and floods and all of that. That should be talked about in advance. Job situation, do you have to leave the job, all the rest of it. You should know, really, if you've been on the job more than if you're in the Florida area, if you've been on the job a year, you've been there through hurricane season. So do I have a job where they're going to take it seriously, and if people need to call off, no problem, blah, 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 they're going to be the ones that, I'm quitting my job if I leave to go board up the household. Make sure all of that is discussed in advance. Take it seriously if you live, or if you're going to move. If you didn't grow up in one of those areas and you end up moving to one of those regions as you get older in life, oh man, and that's a conversation you want to have when it is a calm, 75-degree, dry day with no precipitation and no precipitation in the forecast for the coming days. That's when you want to have that discussion about the storm, what, priorities, we're attempted parents, we can't be staying, and, we're going to stick it out another, hey, we got little ones and all that, we got to make different decisions, and what's that process going to be like and all that, have that discussion. Maybe you can type it out, print it out, maybe save it, put that up with other important documents, passport, all the rest that you're going to need in your, bug out bag type of a thing, but talk about that in advance, especially if you are in a region where, looks like we might have to deal with this type of thing, a Milton and a Helene from time to time. In advance, in advance, in advance. Let's see. A few things before we get to folks wrote in the audio reports that we heard at the top. Man, oh man, we started off Dr. Welsing. IVF. Do we have any people at all? Callers, listeners, if you listen to the archive, you can email in. Do we have any non-white person in the known universe, in the COWS audience? You have IVF benefits with your job. Who is that person? Like, you don't have to talk a long time. You can make up a name, IVF Jones, IVF Janisha, anything, whatever. But just, do we have anybody that is a part of your benefit package that you can go to the old IVF clinic, and if you're having difficulty getting Leroy Sharpton III, Lakeisha Jackson, you're having a little difficulty, you can make a trip to the IVF clinic and get a $20,000 hookup and get a little help getting the next generation of Leroy. I would be stunned. I'd be a little upset that, dang, you had this type of hookup with your job and you didn't tell us before. Why you been holding out on us, man? Have you taken it? Well, you don't have to get into all that if you don't want to tell us if you've taken advantage. But I would just want to know, does anybody have that in their benefit package? Because it seemed like they said in the report that that's not widespread, that, man, you got to be a really cool, hooked up white person. You got to have elite cronyism privileges to be a white person when you got IVF for your job. They said it might not even just be a one-time thing. You might have to go and do 2-3 rounds of the treatment before to take it, you get an actual pregnancy. Whoa. One more time, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, white genetic annihilation. And again, she's not a doctor, but Judith Finlayson, she did say, most of the white dudes in this part of the world by 2060, they will be infertile. And Europe, she said, you better have lots of IVF if you want another generation of white folks in the coming year. Oh yeah, we're going to need all kinds of IVF, 3, 4, 5, 10 rounds of it maybe. White genetic, and that pops up in workplace racism in so many different ways, because we've had that pop up with, we don't have enough workers, so we got to pay non-white people to come and stay here and have children and work these jobs because we don't have enough white people. We've had that pop up lots of ways. And then with this one, we got some of the benefits for the people to stay here. Got that IVF. Hey, maybe you don't want to got that IVF treatment. Can be pricey. Mm-hmm. Maybe that will even become a greater incentive to lure white employees that we got IVF benefits. Dr. Welsing, I know she's paying attention. She wants us to pay attention. Let's see. We heard in California, we just talked about this too now, we have creeped out of summer official, but I know in many regions, hurricane or no, they are still reporting very high temperatures. I know here in Seattle, Washington, currently 58 degrees Fahrenheit. So we are not dealing with, on that temperature, what have you, but I know many other places they are. And you might still need air conditioning and or policy about in the work, especially if you work in some place like you're a cook or some type of warehouse and other facilities where they have really high temperatures. Oh man, yes, you better check policy about ice, water, all of that. Speaking up, one thing I will say, they had a training exercise that I thought was great, and this was in California specifically, which is one of those regions, especially Southern California, where they're still having pretty high heat. As a matter of fact, even in the Bay Area, San Fran 415, they had plus 90-degree heat this week, which is stunning to Gus T as someone who's lived in the Bay Area, they don't have 90-degree heat, like, period, in San Francisco. Even in the summertime, like official, they don't have 90-degree heat. So for it to be 90 in October, what? Tornadoes and hurricanes in Florida by the day. It's 90-degree heat in San Francisco. What is going on? They didn't talk about Marvin Gaye, but you would have fit right in. Man, that's why I said that you work in one of those places where normally we would think by October, man, I need a hoodie, especially in San Francisco. Oh my God, I need a hoodie on. It's freezing. 2 hoodies maybe, a scarf, hot chocolate, not 90 degrees. Jesus. Now, imagine you work in a kitchen, Mission District, San Francisco, and it's 90 degrees. Man, we get slammed for dinner or lunch or what have you. That's what I mean. You have to speak up because it might be you're in an environment where normally, no, it would not be 90 degrees, but that's not the case. Especially in October, that's not the world we live in now. Stunning on many levels, but speak up. Now, specifically within that report, California they were talking about, and now that was audio, that was NPR, so I couldn't see, they didn't have any pictures with this report, so I couldn't see any of these people to see if they're white people, non-white people, whatever. But man, when they were doing the work or training exercise, what's happening if you're having a heat stroke, and they're like, what are we going to do? And I'm a little bit dizzy, and I don't feel so well. And so who are you going to call? Ghostbusters! Man, heat stroke is nothing to play with. Health and safety is nothing to play with, especially for these type jobs where, man, you coming in with some lip out, you get a water break, and it's that, man, you better go get a wet paper towel and get out of that type of thing, like where they don't even take this serious a lot of times, even if it is hot, because you're just a slave anyway, so, you're supposed to be sweating and working. I would be super serious. That would be my recommendation. If they're going to do any sort of workplace training, anything that has to do with that S word, safety, oh man, we're going to have to save all the joking around until way later. This is serious. Might save somebody's life, might save my life. I need to write everything around. Let's take this serious. Put our feet on the ground, sit up straight. We're going to take this one serious. Showing your age too. Ghostbusters is way old. Heat stroke is nothing to play with. Let's see. Even in October, apparently. Let's see. The robot report. Now they said the demand is slowing a little bit because the interest in some of the electric vehicles has slowed a little bit, and Tesla's messing around, old Elon Musk and everything. They said, make no mistake about it, the robots are here. Matter of fact, speaking of Elon Musk, he just had the unveiling of I think he had the electric bus. He had the different robots that looked exactly like the robots from iRobot. And said, what can they do? Said, what can you think of? And they showed them at the bar, making drinks and vegetables, much like iRobot. I think that was the first thing the iRobot machines did. They made sweet potato pie and all this stuff in the kitchen. They were chopping cucumbers and vegetables and all the rest of it. That was, anyway, earlier this week he unveiled that. So the robots are coming. They just said they've slowed a little bit for some of the factory work and all the rest of it. That was a big part of the strike last week with the dock workers about animation, and they didn't want competition from the robots. That is going to be just an increasing aspect of the workplace. It seems any aspect of work that you do. So I would just be abreast of the changes, how it's going to be incorporated. Are we still going to have a job tomorrow? Are we going to be using these computers as a part of the job, and really talking to your children, offspring about all this? Because, wow, it will be exponentially advanced if you have a 10-year-old or something by the time they're 25 and ready to go work. So I'd be talking about this with them as well. In fact, you even heard the report that directly followed that one about the robots. The St. Louis Nursing School. Now this was at the Goldfarb School of Nursing at Barnes Jewish College in St. Louis, Missouri. Private school, unless I've been misinformed. So how much is the tuition? It's $25,000 a year. I'm sure it's bunches of cows listeners who got that in their pocket. Whoopee for you. But I said, wow, so this is where they have all of this technology. Now, I'm sure it's expanding beyond all this, where they have AI and people that are in the nursing program, they can go through and take all these trial runs with the AI assistants, and that way they can be more confident when they go out with an actual person who has symptoms or whatever medical issues, that they've already done this and had some practice and got feedback and all the rest to simulate. Great, great, great. If you are a black person and you can't afford $25K to go to the Goldfarb School of Nursing at Barnes Jewish College in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, I have to look at their demographics to see how many white, non-white students they have. But generally speaking, private and that high tuition, I would suspect that it's not tons of Al Sharpton's cousins. And Michael Brown Jr., since it's in Missouri, I would suspect it's not lots of his cousins at this nursing school. But I could be wrong. Just who has access to that sort of technology would be something else I'd pay attention to. Maybe they have this technology at Lincoln University, HBCU, Grambling, Jackson State. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. But that would be something I would monitor. The next report, we heard about the entrepreneurship programs in Atlanta, specifically another place that I used to live. They started off Lorea's Bodegas, and she talked about they had all the different drinks named after different black people, Tyler Berry and Halle Berry, and all their different concoctions. They had a separate report that was on WABE, Atlanta Public Radio, about the lack of investment in black entrepreneurs. Now, this was like a month ago, but it was it was like an hour, just all about this and how you have so many black businesses in Atlanta, so many black people, period, but the black businesses don't seem to get the same sort of economic support as white businesses in it that are headquartered in Atlanta, like Home Depot, Coca-Cola, Atlanta Falcons. They have lots of Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered in Atlanta. But they were talking about all of this on the radio, so I was listening keenly with that segment. Now, they started off Lorea's Bodegas in Atlanta. Much love to them, folks down there, support, especially if they have any plant-based options, because they were talking about healthier eating and making that a part of the business model. Whoopee for that. Lorea's Bodegas in Atlanta. But she talked about it was so difficult because there was no template for what she was trying to do with her business, so it was difficult for her to get support. And I cannot imagine, a bodega, I've heard of that before. I don't know how much different, her bodega can be from, whatever bodegas that they have in the world in Georgia, but a bodega, yeah, we've heard it before. Drinks, something to eat, yeah, got it. Why is that so? They come up with all these goofy reasons to not support black businesses. They want to practice white supremacy racism. Now, when that segment continued, and I didn't even have to go back because I don't think they said racism in that segment. When they talked about the lack of support for black businesses and black businesses have to start with credit, I've heard that over and over and over and over again. Even Spike Lee, great filmmaker who's been making movies and all that, for over a quarter century at this point. Documentaries, Malcolm X, and When the Levees Broke, about Hurricane Katrina and the levee failure and all that, all this really important work. 4 Little Girls, about the bombing of the church in Alabama in 1963, all this really important work, films that he's made, as I said, Do the Right Thing, even for over 25 years of filmmaking. Spike Lee, when he was starting out, credit cards. Make some of those for Do the Right Thing and such in the first batching of films, but he talked about that. Some of the first films that he made, She's Gotta Have It and such, using credit cards to get it done. That is crazy. That is crazy. Like, that is not Elon Musk's business story. I went and got me 2 or 3 credit cards, and boy, I knew Tesla was going to be that. No. Even now, when in that segment when they said we're going to have to, what was it, Sousa? They said the Caribbean concept. Now, again, I'm not on all that. Oh, my God, they got to pretend black people come into town. No. But when she said, we have to do the Sousa where you get black people or different folks together, and they come and they put in $25, and you have a lottery and they win. You can do all that. I've heard of all that. Black people did that in this part of the world and many other parts of the world. That is widespread. That is not a remedy for white supremacy racism. If anything, that just shows how pitiful we are, that in 2025, that is the remedy for black people getting access to funds to start a business. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that is not Elon Musk's startup at all. And you can go down the line picking white people. Bill Gates, shouldn't I pick Bill Gates because I'm in Seattle? That is not the Bill Gates startup story at all. I went to my white friends, we put in $25 a month, and then I hit the lottery that time, and I got the money, and boom, I went. That is not the story at all. Again, if anything, I would have appreciated a citation of Emily Flitter's The White Wall. The amount of capital that white people have in response to the amount of money that non-white people have, it is astronomical. In fact, you might even be better. See if you can put a compensatory investment package together to go make a request for white people so we can fast forward the little $25 that we can accumulate from 2 or 3 broke black people. And then you got to get the lottery on that too, and hoping and waiting that my turn will come on that eventually. Man, let's put, or you could do both. You could do that, and then we're going to put together a compensatory investment package to see if we can go around to some of these white people. And now then they can talk about the racism and how white people reject all of that. We're going to figure out a way to be more successful. If the success rate is 1%, we're going to see if we can get that up 9%. We'll start modest and go from there. But it would have to be something, because the people that have the money to get this rolling, they're classified as white. But as I already told you, they don't support Negroes. Now, last second, linked for sure. The great, and we got another one of those pretend black people who's not even born here. Idris Elba, black dude, privileged, born in the UK, talking about the, I was going to call it film, but I guess it's not a film, series, Paid in Full, where he examines all of these black people in the U.S., it seems, who were looted and robbed by race soldiers in the entertainment industry, music industry. I don't think racism was used in that piece either. I'd have to go back and look at the transcript to be truthful, accurate about the matter, but I don't think it was used. Incidentally, they named Prince. I started the segment with Prince speaking, but I was trying to consider if I was going to play this portion or not, that segment. When I heard it mention Otis Redding and they played the music, whoo, we just listened to and learned about Otis Redding and that song specifically, again, 415 San Francisco. Talking about San Francisco and the Bay Area all year, basically. The zebra murders and the migration of black people to California where they couldn't get no job. That's what that song is about, specifically, unless I've been misinformed. Watching the tide roll in, just sitting and sitting and sitting because I can't get no job. Get on out of here, Otis. We don't need no Otis. We don't need no Leroy. Get on out of here. That's what that song is about, unless I've been misinformed. Black people coming to California, get on out of here. What they call it, Jane Crow. I hope Jim Jones opened his church up because we catching a tough time out here just sitting on the dock of the bay. What is it? Watching the tide roll away. We miss you, Otis. And he said after he died in a plane crash horribly, then it becomes valuable. And his wife and family, they have to fight to even get compensation for that after he's dead. Like insult to injury. Insult to injury. And to have that for generations. Prince and Master P. Matter of fact, when they mentioned Master P, I said, man, that's not even a good example to pull up. I mean, I guess it would be, selling music in the trunk of his car and all that. But, man, I just told you, Master P, Snoop Dogg, they tried to sell cereal. Entrepreneurs already got capital. They didn't have to do the Sousa and wait to get the lottery to get the $25 so they could go invest. They had a few nickels. They go to invest. What was the problem? Hey, We can't get distribution. Why don't they put our cereal out on the shelf? People want to go buy Snoop Doggy Doggos and all the rest of it, Master P.O.s and all the rest of it. Why? Where is the Snoop cereal? And they got the lawsuit saying that it's racism. That's why I said there's so many different ways that you will be sabotaged and undermined and attacked and not supported as a black entrepreneur. So many. It doesn't have anything to do with, we didn't do our money right and all the rest of it, although that is a problem. But I mean, that's just not even getting to, why this continues to happen. Music industry and why does Prince have slave written on his face? System of white supremacy. Prince is another one. Died, didn't even get to 60. I'd have to go back to get the exact age, but he did not get to 60. I think a lot of the people that he met, Prince, Otis Redding, these people did not. Longevity is nice. I'd like to live a long life. That's what Dr. King said. Otis Redding, Prince, Michael Jackson, none of them got long life. And then once Negro is gone, Notorious B.I.G., see? Hey, now we did Negro. Woo! That album used to be worth 5 cents. Now it's worth $5,000. That's dead Negro Otis Redding's first recording. My goodness, that's Notorious B.I.G. Woo! Any hoodles. That's all the industries. That would be a great segment right there. You have children that are interested in music. They play, maybe they're great, the violin or, I don't know, singing, hip-hop, any of it. Check out that segment. They should definitely know about the long history of exploiting talented black people in all areas of people activity. There are few things white people do and enjoy better. Raping black children seems to be one, but not many. Any hoodles. Let's see. If we got any listeners, non-white people, anywhere in the world, if there's something you want to talk about publicly and have your voice identified, no problem. You can drop us an email, untiljustice@gmail.com. Do we have any, even one, non-white listener in the known universe? If you're on the space station, you send us an email. Don't you be shiftless and trifling out orbiting in the universe. You get on that space station computer, you can write a sentence. You've been hanging out up there, you got communication. You write a sentence, you say, Brother Gus, I'm up here on the space station, and yes, I do have IVF benefits. When I get back on Earth, I'm going to use it, and we're going to have another generation. Not like you, worthless Negro from Virginia, but we're going to have another generation of space travelers. Yes, I do have the IVF hookup. Don't you wish you did? Your brother in space or something. It doesn't even have to say all that. You can make it shorter, but you send us a message and you let us know if you have any sort of IVF benefits attached to your job. Let it, because I have never heard of that sort of benefit package. If you didn't check your benefit package closely enough, check it. If you have the IVF included, let us know. Man, you would be the smartest person here. Maybe you should follow and do everything you say. Like, wow, they got IVF benefits. And then maybe, well, I was going to say, yeah, you could let us know. Did you use it? Like, wow, that's amazing. Anyway, the number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. Let's see. We'll check emails, phone line. Let's see. See if folks are getting their thoughts together, I reckon. I guess they're getting their thoughts and such together. I cannot emphasize enough. I know I didn't have anything specifically about the election today, but we are, let me get my calendar so I can be specific, as we are really rolling down the stretch. So, things are going to be right. And we have a holiday. I would normally say a little bit more about that as we get into the holiday section, but the election is present. Okay, so the election, we are less than 30 days away. It'll be 3 weeks away come Tuesday. You are not. I don't care how many speeches Obese gives. Michelle Obama can come out. If former President Trump comes to hang out in your town, VP Kamala Harris comes to hang out, give a talk in your area, I don't. And maybe they all come on the same day. I don't care. No talking politics in the workplace, even with other non-white people. I don't care if it's another black person. They have 8 great-grandparents all born in Mississippi, and they were all lashed. Got pictures. Even then, no discussing politics in the workplace. You don't know who is listening, even if you're talking to someone and they happen to agree with every single point you make. You have no idea who else is listening to this conversation, and you certainly don't know if they also agree with every point you make. You cannot assume that black people will have the same political perspectives that you do. You certainly do not assume that that is the case for individuals who are classified as white. No one that I have ever talked to on the C.O.W.S has told me, Brother Gus, I am paid to discuss politics on my job. As such, there is no need to volunteer your views, thoughts on anything happening in the political spectrum. Who's going to win the election? Why? What they should have done at the debate? None of it. None of it. If anybody else, white person, non-white person, if they want to talk, whatever. I probably wouldn't even ask a question unless it was somebody classified as white. And I was feeling, all right, I'm pretty certain this is not going to cause me any problems. I'm curious about something. If it's a non-white person, I'm probably not even going to ask them any questions. Whatever perspective, that they take, that's what I say about you shiftless black boys, and y'all need to get out there and vote. That's what I said. And getting out here and going to go support Donald Trump and I'm not name calling them. What you talking about? None of that. None of that. None of that. I have nothing to say. They come up and ask, Brother Gus, what you think about the rest of your shiftless black brothers supporting Donald Trump? I don't discuss politics in the workplace. Nothing else. There's no explanation for the policy. I don't discuss politics in the workplace. Actually, if they did need an explanation, I probably would rattle off really quick. Well, it's not in my job description. I wouldn't even add anything else. I'm certainly not going to be volunteering for extra time. I mean, I don't sign up to go clean the toilet, right? I'm not going to come in here and hold court for 5 minutes to give off my political views. I mean, gee whiz. Now, if they want to add that to my job dues and increase my salary, then maybe we'll think about that. But at the time, no, I'm not. No, I don't volunteer political opinion. Let's get back to work, shall we? Thank you. And I'm very serious. That's the way it would be, short as possible, because this is not going to be a long 30-minute conversation either as to, why don't you want to talk about Trump and Kamala Harris and, whatever else. Like, no, that's our job. If we're supposed to come in here and buff the floor, let's buff the floor. Are we supposed to do brain surgery? Let's get to operating on this brain. We are neuroscientists. We're not political scientists. If I'm an anesthesiologist, I'm an anesthesiologist. Is the patient out? That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about anything. Man, that Kamala done got on my nerves. Ooh, we in advance too. Is the patient out yet? Because we ready for the... Okay, they ready. Let's get... And no paraphernalia in the workplace. I know I've seen that a lot. People got to wear their buttons. Now, sometimes you'll be on a job where they're trying to make you, wear a button. It'll be a union thing or whatever. No paraphernalia, especially if you like deal with the public, strangers off the street are coming in, you're at the courthouse or wherever. You work at a restaurant or what have you. Nothing where you're going to be dealing with people from the public. No paraphernalia at all. Because then you got the button on now. You got to talk. Because somebody, what you mean wearing to the... Just the name. Like I have my name tag on and that's it. I'm not wearing nothing on the slick. I'm not going to have no blue ribbons. Like, what is that blue ribbon? Nope. No paraphernalia, no costumes. That's what I said. It's holiday season. I would normally be harping on that a little more because it's election season, but same thing. I'm not doing no costumes. I'm not doing no candy, chocolate, none of that. I'm not decorating the office, none of that. I'm not dressing up as nothing. You old prude. Yep. Yeah, especially this time around, they put all that together. That people coming in dressed up as Kamala Harris as they're like, nap. I'm not doing none of that. None. I do wear the same thing that I wear on July 2nd, October 15th, March 25th. It's just another day on the plantation. I'm wearing clean clothing, professional clothing, and that's that. Everybody else wants to do their parties and bring in food. They might do the potlucks too. Like, oh man, especially with all the toxicity around the election, I'm for sure not doing no potlucks or candy during this time period because people got the pranks and all the rest. They're like, nah, you can miss me with all of that. I'm not bringing in no candy. I'm not bringing in no baked good. No, I don't need nothing. I don't need no chocolate. Nothing. They getting the pies and everything warmed up for Thanksgiving and all that. Nope. I'm good. Taking care of my teeth. I'm diabetic. You guys talking about diabetes and everything. Nope. I'm good. Let's get back to work. Let's see. I got disgruntled, or not disgruntled. I got confused. I was going to get my emails together to share. Let us see. Folks who dialed in, I'm excited because now I do see hands. So did we get anybody who has IVF benefits? Is that would be like the front of the line. If we got anybody who has IVF benefits, we should hear from them immediately. Everybody else, hush. So let's see. Do we get anybody who has IVF benefits for their job? IVF benefits?
No.
No IVF benefits, maybe. Okay. The IVF folks, if you're here, don't be a straggler. Don't be shiftless. Let us know. At least send an email. Yes, and you don't have to give any identifying information. You don't even have to tell us if you're male or female. If you don't want to, no problem. Just let us know, yes, IVF, how long you've been at the job, and then what type of job is it, like what type of career. That'd be interesting to know where they have this sort of hookup at. All right. Bay Area Mom?
Greetings to you all. Thank you for taking my call. I wish I had these extra benefits. I got to get my life together. So I missed all the commentary because I have to work, but I want to share my workplace racism for the week. You mentioned talking politics in the workplace. I wasn't talking politics in the workplace, but, we're very gay at our school. It's very open. Gay. So, one of the black employees, I guess they were talking about how they're forcing it on the kids, how the kids can just kind of identify, talk to them. It's as if they're omitting the parent, so it's becoming the child teacher. Then the parent, if the teacher feels as if the parent needs to know. Especially when it comes to the homosexual agenda. So one of the staff members who's a mom said, well, I don't think that's right. I don't think the rights should be taken away from the parent like that. And then so the assistant principal that's queer made a comment. She wasn't talking to the assistant principal. She was just in the office commenting. And the assistant principal told her, I don't think that's a conversation you should be having here. So the black parent that works there said, well, I'm a parent, and you're talking about children and parent rights, so I do think it's appropriate for you to say something about it. So the lady ended up walking off. But it's kind of weird because when you have these kind of conversations, as you stated, you don't know who's listening, and everybody might not agree with everything, and it could turn into something different because the lady still works there, but both of them, and the assistant principal is still there. But I'm wondering how that went. Did the assistant principal tell all kind of other people that this is how this lady feels? So it just goes, and then it makes it seem as if it's homosexuals or straight people against homosexuals. It just turns real weird. So that just crossed my mind when you said not speaking politics at work. So I'm at the school with all the black kids. We have a lot of behaviors. Last night I went to, because I'm at a charter school, so we needed our charter school. Well, the charter school that I work at, we needed it renewed. They've been prolonging it. It should have been done 3 years ago, but got a lot of pandemic extensions. So a lot of white people, a couple of white people had a lot to say about the black charter school because it's predominantly black, and you know when it's black, anytime, just like maybe there was a performing arts school in downtown Oakland, and that was black until it became too good for black people, and then they just start having all kind of, they just kind of, people start forcing their way into the black space and kind of push the blacks out. So the basic blacks that may be there now are kind of a part of the community or easy to deal with. So I went to the meeting. It started at maybe 5:30, but I didn't get there till 6 because I have to work. I don't get off till 6. So we all went. Even the directors of the after-school program as well, they were there. All the teachers didn't go, but I went because it looked like the principal was talking to me when he was making this announcement about people coming. So I said, when he was looking at me, oh, okay. And then when the time came, I thought I would be too late to go, but I wasn't. Because it started at 5:30, so I could be there and it ended at 9. So just listening, it was a lot of people. It wasn't, standing room only, but it was a lot of people there. A lot of people want to speak. There was a lot of LGBTQ people there, you could tell, because of the, it looked like you switched dresses, and it just looked, you could just tell that a lot of the that community is in charge of our school. And I don't mean I just mean the black charter school. So they're below average, because with all that trying to renew, you get all the data. So the enrollment is low. They were trying to get it for both, because the school is a middle and high school, high and elementary school. So I guess as a combination, it may be under 600 kids at both schools. Their numbers, some of their reading numbers have went up, but a lot of them are not on average. It's sad, but their numbers show that there is some progress. But the good part about this particular school is there's a lot of trauma and behaviors, and this school takes the time to try to at least deal with them and help them. So this white lady on the board, it was 2. So apparently people, because they've been having this meeting for a while, and apparently someone wrote something on social media about how these white women hate charter schools and hate black people, just all kind of stuff. And so instead of us talking, that's when she wants to bring, oh, yeah, and how you guys went on social media, but you don't know who did it. And this is a board meeting. Are you serious? So she just went on a rant about how they were talking about her, and it doesn't mean that, she doesn't like charter schools and all this stuff that you said about me. You could have just talked to me instead of putting it on social media. Just way. somewhere else. And then she's questioned the enrollment. And I can't even see, you don't even have to see anywhere your enrollment. And so this other gentleman was just stating, it is available. There's links. There's information available. It's available. So she voted no. So when you're doing the yay and nay, she voted no to renew our the school, the black school. Everyone else on the panel voted yes. One gentleman was so adamant about, because, you know, we do have spaces, there's charter schools, but they're not helping the black children. They're just there. So this one gentleman was just saying, hey, what are you going to do for the black children? Because we do have a lot of Yemen and Spanish at the schools too. But what are we doing for the black children at the school? So his whole thing was he's coming by the school to make sure that things are happening for these black children. And you're not just renewing it and you're going back to business as usual. The children aren't thriving. And he's just like, let's make Oakland great again. And so I guess maybe he didn't mean to say that, or maybe, I don't know, but he stopped and said, well, I shouldn't have said that. I can't believe I said that. So I guess we're so busy trying not to be anywhere near anything that maybe Trump had said, because there's also this thing that black men are voting for Trump and just that kind of thing. So I guess that was hard for him, and he was just trying to correct that. And just talking so much that you're talking too much. So he did vote yes for us to renew for 5 years. So we did get that renewal. It was only one no, and that was the lady that wanted to know about the enrollment. And there was a question about the turnover, because a lot of the staff leave. And I'm sure the pay is one thing. I'm sure the pay sucks. But another thing is all the trauma that West Oakland had and the behaviors that come with it. Because all I heard today was screaming all through the hall from general ed. It's not even special day, from general ed. And one parent is saying, well, she just needs sensory stuff. This girl beats the kids up and everything. This girl's a nightmare. And probably a danger to the other kids, but I don't know. There's a lot of different behaviors at the school. They need a lot of help. And then just listening to the principal at the board meeting, in order to run our department, it'll cost $700,000 a year. So, and the behaviors are rising. The disabilities are rising. Because I do remember making a statement that they did say in 2025, 70% of the boys would be on the spectrum. So if it's rising, you can even see the behavior. It's just out of control. So something's going on, and it's affecting these children, and their behaviors are out of control. So they did need this school to stay open for the people that do care. Like I remember stating before, the school psychologist from where I was at prior, she's there with me. We needed her. And there's a whole healthcare team. There's nurses, psychiatrists. There's a lot they need that, though, versus just having paras dealing with these kids for whatever, 20, 21, 22, 23, $24 an hour, and they don't have the skill to change the behavior. So we'll see. I just know come Tuesday there's going to be a change in everybody's schedule and special day, because I guess after all these months, I'm the one in there trying to deal with behavior. So I'm going to do a lot more with behavior versus just babysitting the kids like it seems like the paras are doing. Even in the after-school program, the adults treat it as if it's daycare. So the children, they act as if it's daycare versus it being a learning center. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes with that, because even when we go outside, the adults, they're on their phone or in a huddle talking to each other. The kids, they got Band-Aids, ice packs, everybody, something's hurting, somebody's crying, there's always something going on, and the adults are communicating amongst each other versus working at work. So I'm glad that they renewed the charter school, so maybe something you can put forth, that's not the fear of that anymore. Now let's get to work. Let's see what we can do with these children. You're not here to get a check. I noticed that the guy that identifies as a lady hasn't been there in 2 days, saying that this person says she's sick. But we have picture day. I think this person got sick because they didn't get a chance to take pictures. They came dressed up or whatever, but did put on their makeup. So by the time they did put their makeup on, it was after 12. So the picture people had left. So this person was angry because I put all this makeup on for nothing. Because whatever that stuff, that cake, that stuff that gives the illusion of smooth skin, put all that stuff on and all that other stuff and whatever that stuff is that people would wear for makeup. He had all that on, or she, and the picture people were gone. And the next thing you know, for the past 2 days, this person wasn't there, on top of the fact that they were feeling a way about that pride parade and all the children not participating, and how some of the parents even came and picked the kids up early. So we'll see if this person will be there on Tuesday. And if not, they're not going to have no job. But because they're hiring other people to come in, they're really trying to do something. I don't know what yet. But for the people that have just been lazing around, doing barely nothing, and these children are having all these behaviors and issues, can't read, you're yelling at them, pranking them, they screaming and crying because instead of working with them, you're pranking them. The mean gentleman that yells at the little boy that can't read, today the little boy just started crying because he said, oh, I'm leaving. Well, if I'm leaving. So the little boy like, well, I don't want to go home. Well, if I'm leaving, you got to leave. And it's just like, well, I don't want to go home. So instead of saying, well, tell the little boy, because he didn't leave, if I leave, you'll be fine. Somebody will be here for you. He just terrorized him until the little boy just started, he's screaming and crying to where the occupational therapist ended up coming in while the boy is crying. And it just, some things you don't have to do as an adult. You don't have to terrorize the children that are traumatized. This child has so many issues. He was even saying in his crying he don't want to go home and get beat by his mom. So you know a lot of personal stuff about this child, and you use it against the child. That doesn't help. And this little boy was like, I hate you. You always trying to prank me. And just that kind of, and that's just, it's not healthy. So then the guys just start laughing and stuff like, man, why are you taking this? We were just doing this an hour ago. You weren't even crying, and that kind of stuff. But why are you having this kind of conversation with him an hour ago? I wasn't there, of course. That's probably why. But why is this the conversation? We're at school. He can't read. Why are you having dumb conversations with him when you can help him? So this is what I mean about these kids. We're wasting their time. We're paid. They're not. And we're kind of flexing on them and their trauma. Flexing, maybe that's not their word. We're kind of imposing our dominance on them because we're adults and they're children and we're getting paid. We've been to school allegedly, and they're trying to get through this. And instead of helping them maneuver or even using some of the tools that we may have used or could have used, we're not doing that because I guess they're deemed hopeless. So and even a kid spoke, some little kid, he's 5th grade now, so he's in middle school, but he spoke about how he had anger issues, and if it wasn't for the school, he doesn't know where he would be. So you need to keep it open to help kids like me. We have anger, we have ADHD, we have dyslexia, we have all kind of, some of us, and he was naming his little stuff too, and, some of us, we need a lot more help. So just that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to share that. It was good. I'm glad that I went, even though I didn't feel like it because I was tired. But it helped me, and it does look like I care because I'm the only person through a temporary agency that showed up. There's a lot of people that worked there for years, and I'm the only one from the agency that showed up. So it's all good. Thank you for taking my call. I'll mute my line.
Well, guess they were tuckered out from waving goodbye to the Oakland A's, so they got to save up their energy. Much obliged, Bay Area mom. That is exactly what I was just talking about, where she said the teacher educator was there, and she was talking. Now they just had big political. Gavin Newsom and them, they just passed all kinds of like major legislation throughout the state, like, you can't be snitching to the parents. Like, child comes to school and little Johnny says, I'm feeling more like a Jane, and you can't, be telling the parents, that little Jane is, going to do a sex change, and you got to shh. Jane has rights. That making that laws and such, like, they've been anyway. And I think that did pass. That's what, unless I'm misinformed, I don't live in California, but I think that did become law. You can't be snitching. And so she's talking about that and saying, man, I don't know. I think the parents should be included in this. Gus does too. And she said the assistant principal came and said, hey, I don't think you should be talking about all that here. That's exactly the type of thing that I'm talking about. Although it is politics, but dang, that's like policy that, that we're supposed to be abiding by. Like, man, it would seem like that would be a president. She said, hey, I'm a parent and I'm an educator. It's like I got twofold interest in this. He said the administrator didn't say nothing, the white person. Didn't say nothing else. Or I won't say they didn't say nothing. They didn't say anything else to her. Let's see, that's the sort of thing now. Now, do I have a mortal enemy at the job who wants to destroy me? Do I have, if they have any sort of input, because I think she said this is an assistant principal. Woof. Do they have any input over the hiring, raises, promotion, my performance evaluation? Does she have any input over any of that? I don't know if I would want that person having a vendetta, or really anybody, but having a vendetta with me because they overheard me talking about, but again, like, that's the job. That's what we're talking about. Like, is that, we're supposed to be about, like, I don't know. I'm a parent. Man, that is so tough. I don't know if she did anything incorrect there, but that is what I'm talking about. You never know who is going to be ear hustling. What you say? What? And then they might go and gossip that thing too. They got to go and tell everybody, this nigga woman is talking about, she thinks you got to go snitch to the parents. And let's see. He said they did keep the charter school for black people. Black people in Oakland been struggling to get schools like forever. She said the black educator was there and they were having a discussion. She said, make Oakland great again. Yeah. Yeah, stop it. Oh, whoa. Maybe. Oh, yeah, I shouldn't have. So I said, man, I'll be so glad when the election is done. You just get back normal times. Now you gotta, whoa, I didn't mean my fault. Can we just say, let's make Oakland awesome? Is that, I think we can, okay. Whew, man. And then he said, I'm not one of the black males who voted for Trump. Like, I just wanted to, like, what in the world? I didn't even think of that initially. It's like, oh yeah, that is, yeah, I guess it's close enough. If they're going to be mad because some of the students didn't come to school for the parade and pride and all that, you definitely going to have some of that. What? This nigga boy is, yeah, MAGA on the sly. I said Oakland. I said, never mind. Woo. She said we got all these black children that nobody cares about. She said it once. She said that they do pranks on the children. I said, what? They do pranks on the children? Wait a minute. What do you mean they do pranks on the children? Then she said it again. And it frustrated the little black fella. She said, you up there doing pranks on me. And wait a minute. These are children who need the most help. I thought these were children who had like emotional problems. She's told us repeatedly, they can't read. Why are we carrying out pranks? It's not funny at all. It's not funny at all. Heathen Gus, get it together. I cracked up because Columbine, man, I did not pay attention to that till we started reading Columbine, and he talked about all the pranks that they did. Dill, Reb, and then we read about Dahmer. He and his dad were all into the pranks too, and then this just keeps coming up. System of racism in a variety of different ways, but white people doing pranks. Often pranks on black people. I mean, so you got grown people doing where they got a reputation for doing pranks on students who can't read and need the most. And some of them they get to hang out. Oh, he's in his office today. I snuck a whoopee cushion in the solitary confinement room. I mean, what? That's almost like a racist joke, right? I mean, really, if I can't read, I am not interested in you coming up and ribbing, and you want to do some tickling and put itching salt on. Like, what in the? I can't even function. That's why I said it's that. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just, what? What? And this is not like a one-time thing, because she said it over and over. Like, this is not just, oh, we had an extra balloon, so, oh, got you that day, Jamal. Like, no, we all the time. Like, what in the world? What? Anyway, hey, when you play around with sex, the pranks are on your offspring. Whoopee cushion under your 11-year-old child's seat and he can't read. Pranks. Jesus Christ. She said, we're not here to get a check. Whoa. Look here, nigga woman. I don't know about you are here. I am here to get a check and play some pranks on these nigger children. I don't know who told you that we're not just here to get a check. Like, what? That wasn't quite as funny as the pranks, but I mean, woo! Why are you here? I'm for sure. I'm here to get a check and pranks. It's no other reason to be here. What else is it? That one was not funny either. I'm sorry. That one was not funny. But they got The Office. But even that's a prank. Even that. I said something about that. You got a black dude who also can't read, and they put him in solitary confinement, but they call it, he's in his office today. What? Like all this is low-key funny. And it is. Anyway, the fella, she said he called out Perceptive. She said he called out, she thinks, because he brought all his costume and makeup and everything, and the photographers dipped. What? Nope. Y'all didn't even tell me. I went through all and didn't come in for 2 days. I do not recommend, I don't know, maybe they called out in advance. I do not recommend, just dipping. You're going to have a tantrum and I'm out of here because, I didn't get to do my picture with my costume. And so like, come, that would, for me, it's just further evidence. You mean we not here to get it? I'm here to get a check, play pranks, improve on my makeup and femininity. They got every agenda, but they're not thinking about these nigger children or these nigger staff, really. Right. I can't even get it to... The number, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Let Leroy, one of them, pull a prank on one of the teachers. Put some... I can't get it. I'm sorry, I said be serious, and I can't even get it together. But let Leroy pull a prank on one of them. I slipped some gummy worms in your coffee or whatever. I do not think, that's a good one, Leroy. Got the gummy worms in my coffee, you little rascal. No. Leroy, quiet room. I can't get it together. Pocket pranks. Why that's like being in juvenile hall or something, and they got people that can't read and all, and then they go and do pranks so they throw water balloons at them while they're locked in solitary. I'm like, what is that? I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to get it together. Let's see. Other folks who dialed in. Let's see. Woo.
Hi, Gus, may I be heard?
Yes, ma'am. Do you have IVF benefits, young lady?
Is that the, can you remind me what that is? Is that the what is that exactly?
In vitro fertilization.
Okay, that's what I thought. I don't believe in my benefits handbook I have seen that. So, yeah, I don't know how common, I guess, that benefit is. I guess my company doesn't pay for that.
Right on. Just trying to see if we have any in that number. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, if I may be heard, I just have a couple of workplace racism stories. I didn't call in last week. I wanted to kind of give, I guess, everyone a bit of a break. So I had an event that happened. I would say it just falls under the category of tacky. We had a really large departmental meeting with like 60 to 70 people in attendance, and it was a mandatory meeting. And basically, all the managers and directors, they kind of talked about the goals for the year, and then they would, introduce the staff that, worked with them. So it was my boss's turn to introduce everyone. And, I was spending maybe like 2 people from him. So he basically, introduced all of my coworkers and colleagues, or, he said, this is, this person. And he even went, he went as far as to even say the name of a guy who, he was absent. He wasn't even there. He wasn't even present. And anyway, I just sat there and I noticed, like, okay, he pretty much just, skipped over me. And then he did the entire, how they do that laugh, and then he's like, oh, you weren't going to even, say anything, and you were going to let me, skip right over you, although you run the entire department, and, that fake laugh. So I just kind of sat there, I was kind of aggravated. Second incident happened earlier this week. I had put in my time to be off. My intention was to do a half day, but unfortunately that turned into a full day, and I had, communicated it via whatever we use to notify of our absences that, hey, this day is tentative. So I came in, yesterday, and, my boss, we really don't, I've tried to, as I said, kind of distance myself from him, and he was, he started talking to me, and he was like, is everything okay? And I said, yeah, everything's fine. Why do you ask? And he said, well, I know you put in your time and you said that you were going to be, gone a half day, but you were gone the whole day. And he said, I wanted to. I don't want you to think that, I didn't care. I started to text and reach out to you, but I didn't want you to snap at me about, it being your day off. And I was kind of, taken aback by that. And the final incident happened today. I don't know if this is workplace racism, but more so just a creep. I went to get in my vehicle, and on my driver's side, there was a piece of paper and a note. And I picked up the note where someone had tucked it in my vehicle. And, somebody wrote me a note. They said, have a great weekend. I'll be more personable next week, smiley face. It's interesting that they put this note because my vehicle was parked right in front of the security camera. Again, I don't know. Obviously, I would think, maybe I could get the tape or get that information, but I think I've kind of told you my workplace is not the most transparent on anything, although it is a government job. And final thing I had is I just had a question. What are your thoughts, Gus, in the workplace when it comes to email and having your photo, there versus not having your photo there? My name is very, it's not a white name, but it seems, or I have noticed that it seems like when you have your picture, there, that you, when I'm communicating with, external, like vendors, response times and everything is a lot slower, or people, you email people and people don't even email you back, even though the emails are written very courteous and professional. So I just wanted to kind of, ask you, what are your thoughts on, when you have your workplace email, you're doing business, maybe I should take my photo down. Just thought I would just ask that question because I guess this has really been the first workplace where I've seen where, I emailed someone maybe like a week ago about a process or a procedure, and, people just do not respond. And this is an individual internally that I do not work with on a daily basis, but they have some information that I needed, but they have yet to respond. So those are my stories for the week. I guess they always could be worse, but I just wanted to share that with you, and I'll mute my line.
Much obliged. Mr. Fuller does have that in the Word Guide where he recommends that we avoid that phrase, things could be worse. He said it's not a very inspiring way of thinking. The avatar question, in terms of the email, I'm going to research because I suspect there have been like studies, published reports and things on, is there a difference? Do you get that sort of treatment where people are slower to respond, if they respond at all? Are they more likely to practice racism if they can immediately, with an image, ascertain like, nigger, throw that one trash? Like that. I bet they have studies on that, because we had talked about during the pandemic, because they were having more Zoom meetings and such, people were experiencing the same thing. Black people, non-white people, where they can see your face for the Zoom discussion, and people were making jokes and taunting them in the comments, ignoring them, all the rest of it. I think we talked about some of this for workplace racism. So it would kind of be surprising if it was not, because then, as opposed to, if your name is, Lakeisha Asada, something that they immediately like, nigger woman, I don't even have to read it. I can just look at it, nigger, trash, or, I'll respond to her in January. It's October. I respond to her in January. that type of a thing. I mean, it would be odd if that was not the case. But I will check and see. I know some workplaces, they might require, if it's company email or whatever, or even their policy, they might require you to have an image up. If they do not require it, it might be better to not have an image at all, where you just have your name, professional, everything else, but just no picture. And I know some people for their workplace, they do have things set up that way, but they do not have an image for their avatar. That might be the better way to go, just because racism, white supremacy, unfortunately, I think they have studies where for white people, it's reflexive in terms of them practicing racism once they ascertain, oh, this is a non-white person. Now you got the image sitting right there, bang. Even every time when I go to pull up your file or whatever, bang, Negress. They don't even identify her when she's at the meetings and such. They come by all the time and say, "Oh yes, young lady, thank you for we appreciate it. Yes, it's great." And he did the same thing, got in the meeting, said, "Well, thank you, Ted and Jennifer and Rachel. You've just been so helpful to everybody. And give everyone a hand. Go sit down." Oh, wait. Look at you. She was going to let me go sit down, that little nigger woman in the back. You old slut. And blame me like it's my fault that she didn't go call me.
That's exactly the laugh I was talking about.
I've heard it, man.
I was so upset when I didn't say it. I didn't do anything, Gus. And I was like upset. It bothered me because it's like he's always trying to. He's like just minimizing, and it was a lot more embarrassing because it was in front of everybody. But I was just like, this guy is. Yeah, I just don't. It's racism, white supremacy. That's the answer.
Triple T. Like the public, we talked about that so frequently, and that's the type of thing where I say I totally get it. I totally, like, in the workplace especially, white people love to publicly humiliate black people. Like, oh, why did we do all this work? Why have a plantation if you can't publicly humiliate the niggers? On the plantation, they would get, like for Roots, since we talk about John Amos, he was in Roots, when they would go to beat Kunta, that's the entertainment for the day. We don't have Netflix, so everybody gather around and we're going to lash Kunta. That'll be, our circus for the day. That minstrel shows, that came from the circus. I didn't even know that this was all together until they got Netflix, and then they could break the horses and everything apart. But originally, this was all together. We love lynchings. We love to publicly humiliate niggers, especially in the workplace. Like, that is messing up black people's name. And we've had so many of those. The caller at the courthouse, he had told us the same thing. They had a meeting, and they had a black person who was a brand new employee, and they normally introduced them. He said they went around and were clapping and saluting white people who had been there for years. Some of them who had left and come back and had been there the whole time. We just want to give you a shout out today, Ned, and we love you. And black person just started working. Totally ignorant. They were to walk out, and he's like, whoa. We got, Lakeisha in the... Hi, Lakeisha. Let's go. Niggers. That type of thing. We act like, Jesus, like that's my welcome to the group. Like, man. And then blame me. You were going to let me go sit down and not even see anything about it. Yeah, it's my fault. And then, like I said, they do this all the time. They just had the white woman to come, and this is when they're supposed to be appreciating me. Can't even say my name. I'm young lady. I got a tag on the wall, man. You can say my name. I've been here for some years at this point. You know who I am. That's all right, young lady. Composure. Expect it. Expect it. This is the plantation. I wouldn't care if you're the CEO. You get all kinds of raises, everything. It doesn't get any better than tacky. Publicly so. Ugh. 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 The note I cannot forget. especially since this is coming up regular. Picture, that's the sort of thing we were talking about before. I would save it and I would take a picture. I would even want a picture of exactly like where it was. And because this has been so consistent, and because the time change is about to happen, like I don't know what part of the world you are, but we are about to set the clocks back. So when you go out to your vehicle, if it's 5, it's been light at 5 for the past 3-4 months. It's about to be dark, like nighttime dark at 5. I would feel way different as a mom coming out to my car in the dark where people have been leaving letters and all. I'm gonna be more like, what did I said before when they were doing all this, where did you park at? I didn't see your car. All of that is Jeff Dahmer. All of that is Sade Robinson. There's the gift of fear. If that was me, Bill Cosby, P. Diddy, where did you park at, young lady? And he had already been leaving notes. We had talked about this like a long time ago. He was leaving notes on her desk at the end of the day, and she would ask, like, did you leave the question? Did you leave the? Oh yeah. Just, None of that is appropriate for the workplace. That's why he didn't put a name on it. He put the smiley face on it. What? None of that is acceptable. That is all Jeff Dahmer. Save picture. Man, she said.
And I think, Doug, if I may interrupt, I think that they all, as I said, I think my workplace is very corrupt. And I think, because you have to think about, like I said, with my vehicle, there's a camera right there that can see all of that. And whomever did that, they blatantly just didn't care. So they have to be somebody, I feel like, because otherwise, especially if it's where there's a camera and you're bold enough to just do that, I don't, that's why I say, and I think maybe you have said before, white people, they stick together. They will, stick together with each other. And because like I said, it just boggles my mind because of the camera being there, and they just don't care. And, I'm not saying this could have been, I'm assuming it was my boss, but you just don't know because I don't park next to him, and he's parked further down, but he could have some of the guys below him, putting it there, for him. So it's just a mess. But I did document. I took a picture of it, so I have that. But I don't know, what else to really do, I guess, at this point.
That's gift of fear. That's something I thought was very serious when it was the messages just on the door. And then when it continued and, where are you parking at? So I'm, monitoring the lot, or maybe I'm looking at the video footage, or both, to keep records of, where's your vehicle at every day? And, oh, you moved over here this time. All that is just so Jeff Dahmer. That's what I would expect from some sort of serial killer, stalker, slip something in my coffee at the end of the day, trail me on the way home. Like, I take that super serious. I was even thinking, like, man, is that something to report? Because I would go I don't know who did this. Is this a stranger? Is this not him? Like, whoa, let's report this. And I'm just thinking, like you said, the whole place is corrupt. His friends might have done it for him. That might be true. At least to get this documented as, whoa, someone is leaving notes at my S word. I am a mother. I am walking out to my vehicle in the dark. This is totally unsafe and unacceptable. What is this? Even if it's just to get it, documented. Now, they might come back and say, oh, that was me that put the note down. They might do that. That's fine. But just to get it documented, and it's not accusing him or even anyone that works there, because, hey, I don't know who did this. It might be someone who doesn't even work here. The parking lot is outside, so Someone could have walked by. I don't know if it's someone stalking me. Like, WTH, what's going on here as a safety issue? Just, whoa, at least to get that stopped, like, whoa, we're bugging her out and she's thinking somebody's coming out. Don't do that, don't mess around with her car anymore, that type of thing. Just to get that stopped, and it might send a message about being serious. That's when I had to think about, and other people can let me know too. You can let me know if you think that makes sense, if that would cause more problem than it solves, because we're not supposed to be causing new problems. Not even to get him to change his behavior per se, just to get the notes stopped. There should be nothing on my car when I go out. Nobody should be stalking and keeping track. Oh, she was in lot 53, spot 7 today. Like, that should not be happening at all. Everybody here is still going to be racist. I'm not getting my raise, just in terms of sending a message about I am serious about my safety, and I should not be coming out with, is it going to be, that should not be happening ever. Does that make sense, or does that seem like something that would cause more problems?
I think it does make sense, but I think I am kind of labeled, I guess maybe as a problem in it, because of the raise and because of filing that report. So that's why I am a bit, I guess, concerned, but all of it what you're saying makes absolute sense.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not accusing anyone there because, like you said, it's no name on it. So I don't have a reason to accuse anybody here. It might not even be from someone who works here, which makes it even more dangerous, unsafe, and might be happening to someone else. I don't know, but this isn't correct, right? I think most normal people in the workplace, yeah, that's true. We don't want people coming out and what is going on here? So, yeah, that's just, I have to think about it to see. And certainly, nigger woman, you already made the FOI request, so for sure. Kind of that's how you'll be thought of, how all of us, that's how we're thought of in the workplace. But just that is so, I said it before, and it's content. See, that's what I said before too. They'll start off like, oh, you do a little bit, do a little bit more. He started off with the letter on the desk. And I think it might have been one or two. It wasn't just one. He was leaving them in the office, and then he made the comments like, oh yeah, you didn't park in the same spot today. Oh, and then it escalated, do a little more. Like, even, matter of fact, when you were talking earlier, when you said you'd put your time off request in and switch it up, and he pretend like he's concerned, like my nigger woman is here. And he said, oh man, you took that time off, and, I was going to text you, because I was so concerned and all that, but then I thought you would bite my head off, for texting you on your day. Like, even that. There's no reason for you to be contacting me on my day off. That's just more inappropriate behavior. Because he had said before, like, we can go talk about the raise after work. Yeah, we get together, have a little drink. Maybe I can slip something in your drink. All of this just constant, something inappropriate and right at the line of doing more inappropriate. And put a little note on the car this time. I'd said when he made the comment about paying attention to where your car was, like, this dude might be following you home. He might have already done so. Like, let me see where she lives at, my favorite nigger woman. It is so Jeff Dahmer. That's why I said I would not go in to report him, but just there was a note on my car and I feel unsafe. This is so dangerous. Somebody might not even work here do this. And, oh my goodness, if they're at all normal, that's true. This is totally unacceptable. We can't have random people coming and doing this to the car. Now, maybe they find out he did it and, they don't tell you that or whatever, but at minimum, they could at least get the notes and such stopped. Maybe any reference to your vehicle at all stopped. And we can just get back to the normal tackiness that we deal with in a young lady, that type of thing, as opposed to, because that is just, no. That's just, in my view, it would continue to escalate. It would just be more of that. Whatever you can imagine in terms of it getting worse, from the notes on the desk, notes on the car, like following you in the car. That's what I would be thinking. That's where that leads to. Jeff, I'm not a female, but I'm just trying to, based on what you told us, unless my memory is bad, man, that is dangerous. That's gift of fear. That's exactly what he talked about. He knows if he was a black dude, man, get out. You leaving a note on a white woman's car in front of a camera? Come on. Diddy would have been locked up centuries ago, man. Come on. Even a non-white person's car at this point, it's 2025, man. They've had Me Too and all that. Like, you have got to be out of your mind. On The Office, that's where it started at. And then, I'm paying attention where you parked at and all that. Like, man, that is so dangerous. Like, the other folks, because we do have females and such, Bay Area mom, she's mommy and everything. Not trying to do things that would cause problems. Never that. You're always the expert. Always tell folks, use your brain computer and come up with the best decisions. But that is so, like, dangerous. Like, oh my God. Like, what do the other females think about this? Like, because this has been ongoing abusive conduct for a long period of time, like the notes on the car now and all the rest of she had the white dude that came in for totally work purposes. She's doing her job. White man comes in to see her and he gets an attitude, starts singing out loud, like he's upset somebody's getting attention from his favorite nigger gal. How would you all deal with this, white person, we think, problem? It's not even problem. This white dude, I'd at least say that's stalking. Like, man, all these notes and you keep doing it. You keep doing it and then asking, let's hang out after work and such. What do female listeners, any recommendations from you all on ways to neutralize this, at least to get this behavior stopped? Because for sure, this is not safe. Dangerous, unsafe behavior.
It's probably the only way is really to just get another job, because I just don't think, it's I don't know if I can say a good old boy system, but essentially that's kind of what it is. And I think I've told you there's all kinds of things that go on in that workplace, not just my division, that at any other place, it would have raised a lot of red flags. I've been wanting to get vested. I think I told you that was kind of why I was sticking around. But if it just keeps escalating and escalating without end, and they're not really going to do anything, like they kind of screwed me over with my money, it's just ultimately I'm just going to have to make a decision to just get out of there and to just try to find something else, because it doesn't seem like he stops. Even if ignoring and avoiding, you still see, the behaviors. But I understand what you're saying. Just to report, I don't have to say him, but just have a report to just create a paper trail.
Always, I think, great with the paper trail. I always think I see value in that as well. But yeah, you'd be going to other races to get this solved. Yes, I always think that's important to not lie to ourselves about that. Asking other racists, other racist women, other racist men, she said it's, oh boy, so other racist men to solve this problem. Might even be them directly that are, they're already aware of it or helping in the problem. So important not to lie on that. We'll see if other females, maybe they dealt with something like this before. If you have any tips on neutralizing all this, that would be super appreciated. But again, I understand why people, feel reluctant, because this is not the most enjoyable thing to discuss. I'll say super important because so many people go through this. So many non-white people all over the world have this sort of experience on a regular basis. That's why we have this program, hopefully, so we can figure out some strategies, tips to try to minimize, if not neutralize, this behavior. And I think what you just said is important too. Sometimes in a workplace, you do reach situations where the only real solution to this is different job, and that might take some time to, do the applications and all that and switch plantations. But that's something to be truthful about as well with some jobs. And how much of a sacrifice are we willing to make? Am I willing to endure this for, another 5 years, 10 years, that sort of thing? If I do want to be here for 10 years, then maybe I should be more serious. I should invest a little more energy in thinking about there's got to be a way to get this to stop so I can go to my car safely, right? Type of way of thinking about it. Let's see if other females, maybe they have a thought. Some of our other callers have a thought on this one. Let's see. Other folks who dialed in with a hand up. Let's see. Folks that we missed totally. They have commentary to share, should be with us. Or I guess our other female is too, Bay Area Mom. She's been listening. If you have any thoughts on dealing with the note situation.
I do, if I may. I was hoping when she was telling the story that it wasn't this same creep, but what she's been talking about for a while. That is so creepy, and I feel for her because just to have to work in that kind of environment, and because of the way they act, like it's so harmless and innocent. The smiles, the way they act as if they're not doing anything wrong. So I could see her. She's the only thing. So I'm sure the guy might act friendly or nice, and he's going to be upset when he finds out that you reported him, but you got to do something because you're going to have to leave the job anyway because he's not going to stop. He's going to continue because he can, because that's a lot of their nature. He can. He's going to do what he wants to do. And if they're whomever you're going to have to report to, HR or whomever higher up, they're going to let them know. They may even look at you a particular way or treat you a particular way too, but you don't care. You're going to have to get to where you don't care real quick because you're going to have to find another job because they're not going to give you what you want. They either want you to leave or you to endure this abuse. I'm sure he's a creep already. He was a creep before you started working there. He's been a creep, but he's not going to stop. You're going to have to. I will report it. I know it might, I don't know, because I will report it because I'm that kind, but I get it for you because you work in this environment and if you didn't need the job, you would have already left. So, and then finding another position, especially one that pays whatever you're making, even though you probably could earn more and they didn't allow you that position to earn with the pay, it's going to be not as easy to find a job that'll do, and then you already invested as far as time and benefits, all that stuff, but you're going to have to do it because he's going to keep treating you like, what was that? Kinky boots. So that's my take on it. I feel for you because that's got to be uncomfortable, especially when it's a white person because they have power and we don't. But don't go out like that. Just figure out when you can be able to afford to report his little butt and feel uncomfortable because this is uncomfortable. So you're still going to be uncomfortable. So I would go uncomfortable with paperwork and then start looking to get out of there. But let them push you out if you need the job before you just leave. So that's just my wild thought process. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
For sure. And my suggestion is with the note on the car, even though we are like 99.9% sure it's the same dude, we're not reporting him. We're just reporting the note because we're going to play stupid right along with the note like he didn't say it was him. So you don't know who did this. It might not even be someone who works there. That's the way I would go with it. So it's not I'm snitching on anybody or him specifically. It might not even be an employee, just somebody who doesn't even work here, came and did this. Whomever did this, this isn't safe. That's the way that I would go with the report so they can't say I came in and, snitched on Bob or whatever. Let's see. Other folks who dialed in, if we have any other listeners, they have thoughts on their own situation, and or if we have female listeners specifically who've had to unfortunately deal with this type of situation, if you figured out a way to nip it in the bud where you didn't get fired, didn't cause extra problems, share, please. Other folks who dialed in?
Greetings, everyone.
Retired firefighter in Florida. Safe from the hurricane, we hope. Hurricanes, I guess.
Yes, as far as where I'm at, it wasn't that bad at all. Basically, it was just like anybody else in the area where they at. It was, a little bit of rain and the wind blowing, but not even blowing hard. The only thing that I did see that would be synonymous with the recent hurricane, a few people were obtaining sandbags, which is not unusual for a place like the state of Florida, especially South Florida. I would say the natural infrastructure is basically taking over the quote unquote man-made infrastructure. So water is always going to be attempt to find places to go. So therefore, it doesn't take that much for the next thing you know, you walk outside your house or where, and you're in ankle deep, or in some cases up to your knees or even higher. And it's not even addressed as a quote-unquote hurricane in South Florida. So hopefully we can get through the quote-unquote, they even call it a hurricane season. We can get through that. A few more things about hurricanes. Well, actually, that'd be something that could be talked about if you haven't already talked about it on Saturdays. So I'll skip that and stay with the non-white people in employment. The earlier lady who was talking about the public school situation and how children are influenced, and she was talking about the employee who mentioned that, hey, I'm an employee as a teacher and a parent, and I would agree that she does have a point, but even so, that can probably cause more trouble for yourself than anything. And basically, I think the strategy that I can think that is the best thing to do is be aware of the battle that you're having with your children and maybe, other children that you care about, that they are going to be under that negative influence, sexual confusion, you name it. She talked about the sexual confusion, you name it. But be prepared when that child comes out, or those children come out of that environment, that you have some sort of program for your offspring, or maybe some other children that you have permission to influence on, to basically negate what they have been approached on for those 8 or so hours during that day, that you have a program that would match over that and basically have them unconfused on what they went through in the public school situation, especially. What I noticed about employment, you may have already talked about this also, longshoremen with the strike. The reason why that I brought it up is I noticed in most of the pictures that I've seen it was a lot of non-white people who were rich classified as black in those pictures when they were talking about the people who were on strike for longshoremen. I don't know how they're going to deal with the automation aspect that they're talking about. That's something really is a very challenging. Other than that, the regular things about, that we need more pay based on the economy has rose, so therefore our pay should be rightfully raised also. The point is that there was a lot of non-white people that I noticed that was involved with that. Speaking of hurricanes, again, last but not least, the more infamous hurricane that took place down here decades ago, Hurricane Andrew, from a history standpoint, there were 3 firefighters who were demoted right after Hurricane Andrew. And out of those 3 firefighters, 2 of them were non-white black males. Basically, the charge was, I used the military version, AWOL. And I brought this up to include that just about every job that is available, they have a policy on such things as hurricanes and other disasters that takes place. Once you find out that that particular situation is approaching the area where you live at, where you work at, if you haven't already have a knowledge about what the policy is on that job, it'll be to your best interest that you study it, because you will find out that if you haven't studied it and you showed up on the 5th instead of the 4th, like you were supposed to, you would probably have some problems, some trouble, and they would quote unquote hold you responsible for that. So that'd be very important that you study up on the policies and procedures of disasters and that sort of thing, and in reference to your job. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Much obliged, retired firefighter. From news reports I'd seen, it looked like the Miami area, South Florida, wasn't as much in the path for Hurricane Milton. Some of the more recent activity was, I guess, located more in the western part, Tampa region, western coast of the state of Florida. But that is a great recommendation. Be familiar with the disaster policy in your workplace. And if they don't have a policy, what to do if an earthquake, hurricane, tornado, all of that. And that even includes like the flow of information in terms of whom is making the decisions, if the place is supposed to close down, and how are you notified? Do they have some sort of text notification, emails, how far in advance, and all the rest of it, all those metrics, so that you can look, and that way you will not be surprised. Check all that. And if you live in a region where all of this, we don't have hurricanes here, we don't have tornadoes here, well, maybe you should ask in advance, because seeming like lots more places that did not have these type of events are now having these type of events. So I would ask, what is our disaster plan, major weather event, something happened, even if it's that we go into wintertime. So for a lot of places, could be as simple as, if it's a big snowstorm, more than 3 inches, this is what to do, got to close down, blah, 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 ice storm, all of that we're going into. What's the plan? Oh, okay. Got it. Maybe they would comfortably let people work from home, as opposed to getting out on the ice and getting stuck on the road and all the rest of it. We just work from home today. Yeah. Ask all that in advance and get detailed answers to those questions. Let's see. He gave a recommendation, the young lady who was Bay Area mom, where she was talking about the parent teacher was saying about, hey, I think we should snitch to the parents when they're talking about getting the sex change and all the rest of it. And it's, hey, she does have a point, but in that environment there can be repercussions. Like I said, hey, the person who is ear hustling, they might control the work schedule. They might have input on whether or not you get a raise. That's why I might have to pick. I can't just come out and talk openly in the workplace about any old thing sometimes, even if it is a company policy, just because everybody doesn't agree with me. I already know that. Let's see. Number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. If we have any other female listeners, if you have thoughts how best to nip the notes in the bud on the vehicle, if they have any thoughts about that, is that something you would report the notes, not any person specifically, but just the notes, the incorrectness and unsafety of all of that? Or would you just, document pictures, move forward as best you can? Or if you have any other suggestions on how best to neutralize that, that would be super appreciated, especially if you have any female listeners who've dealt with anything like that. We have other callers. If you have your own situation, observations, thoughts to share, star 61. Make sure you don't wait till the last moment if you have observations to share. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss any the emails. As well, I guess you could email if you have any tips with that regards as well. Let's see. I reckon not. Okay. Double check, make sure I didn't miss our emails. We'll be here on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Pacific. And then we'll be here on, Saturday. I said Sunday. We'll be a Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for the compensatory call-in. And then you can just dial and double check online to see other days when we will be broadcasting after the compensatory call-in for the coming week moving into October. Definitely, well, I'll probably even ask again, we get ready to do the compensatory call-in on Saturday to see if any females have any thoughts, observations with regards to how best to deal with that, because that is, unfortunately, it is so common. I think as both Bay Area Mom and our female caller pointed out, that being able to misbehave in this manner where you can terrorize other employees and with impunity. Either I know all of my homies and friends, they're in HR and own the company and everything else, so the people who you would be going to snitch on me to, they're all my friends, so they're not going to do anything to me, and or they are in agreement, and doing the same sort of behavior. They're abusing other employees themselves, or like she said, maybe even they help him put these notes in place and such. So yeah, it's wacky. Trying to figure out how best to deal with like solving problems without creating new problems. It can be a challenge in the workplace, but hopefully if we have any other suggestions, I think she said it best. I'm a big advocate of at least getting something on record about incorrect things happening and what should be done to mitigate this misconduct. And especially when it's not addressed to anyone. It's not, Roger was doing this or Alfred was doing this. Just, hey, these notes are here. This shouldn't be happening. We're at work. We're supposed to be safe. That word, S-A-F-E, safe. Use that as often as possible in the workplace. Gus, that's my suggestion for the workplace. Never about racism. It is always about safety. Most of the time, even when they're not following policy and procedure in the workplace, that ends up being about the safety and how that can impact us being able to make sure that we have a work environment where everyone can be safe. Let's see, our caller also at the courthouse, or not also, but also in Florida. There we go. At the courthouse, hopefully safe, dry from the hurricanes. I guess, let's see, that he told us last week that the courthouse did a pretty good job of getting you safely or letting people know, making sure that people were informed about the hurricane and when the courthouse is going to be closed and everything because of the weather. Second time around, did they do a quality job of making sure that everybody was safe and making sure information was transparent and unambiguous?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, sir, Gus. They did do a good job with the recent hurricane as well. I've been taking a couple of days off. And to provide an example, the manager sent me a message saying that I would receive some PTO back because given the time that I've been off, the courthouse closed at 12 o'clock on Wednesday, and it was closed all day yesterday, and it reopened back today. So I think they're calling it administrative pay. So I'll have to speak with the manager on that once I get back into the office. But I wanted to also share some reports. A victim shared with me that a black employee who works as the cashier was told by the infamous white dude that, oh, well, you might as well not come in, or something of that nature. You might as well not come in. And he sat where she usually sits at. But see, the thing is, she's a full-time employee. So this was on Wednesday, and in order to get that admin pay, you would have to be there from 8 to 12 on Wednesday. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out, or if she's going to challenge that. But I think, from my observation, I think he was practicing racism when he did that. And I want to give another example. I don't know if I shared this. When I walked into the area where it's civil and juvenile and everything, the two black employees, or two of some of the few black employees, they are in the side office, and they are seated in an area where there isn't much light. So I don't know if that's how they have it designed, or if that's their choice. You know, maybe because people get migraines and stuff. Like I heard some white people say they don't like having the lights on. But I wanted to share a detail on that. I had a black male, and if I haven't shared this, I'll just go ahead and share it. I was waiting for him to get me some envelopes a couple of weeks ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago, and he couldn't remember the combination. So he says it must be the drugs or something. I guess he implying that he's doing some kind of drugs or something. So I said, nah, it can't be, you'll be able to figure it out. So he starts laughing and everything. So he said, well, apparently my mom doesn't seem to think that. So I said, well, I'm sorry to hear that, or something of that nature. So it was a couple weeks ago. So this dude, this is a black male now. He implied that I don't know if he's doing some kind of cannabis or what, a pill, I don't know. But he said that because he was just looking up in the sky and couldn't remember the combination. I had my next observation was a white family came into the area to take passport photos, and the white mother says to the young white boy, "Well, you sure you don't want to take? You sure you don't want to take that photo again? You look like Jeffrey Dahmer, right?" So, the white child looked like he was about maybe 9 or 10. So I'm like, how does he even know who that is? So, but the mother knew. The white mother knew. So, and that's just, once again, it's just the thing about just taking the photograph. Just look at the camera. Some of the customers make these kinds of comments. So she made that kind of, I guess, simile, metaphor about the way the child looked taking the photo. The white child, she said he looks like Jeffrey Dahmer. And, they all started laughing and everything, and they walked out. I have two more I'd like to share. I was walking to go into the post office to take some mail, and I was told by another victim, I don't even know who this person is, black male, older black male. He says that I was really lucky, and he was saying that because the person in front of me, he was holding the door open for. And he said that I was lucky that he was holding the door open for me so I can merely go into the post office. My last report is there was an issue with the probate area where they lost this original will. So I thought about where you said where they're in HR, they're white, the employees are white, so they do they collaborate. I guess I'll say that they connect with each other a lot, and the white people that are managers in HR, they'll defend the other white people. So this white woman is trying to talk to a black person, the black manager, and hadn't physically come over there to talk to her at all in months, I think, from my understanding. So she's going to talk with her over the phone about how she thinks that she would be able, this black person will be able to fulfill the probate duties because the white person, she didn't say the white person, but she named the employee who's a white person, isn't able to get the job done or something of that nature, isn't able to finish up the task that department requires her to do. So I think the victim ended up, how can I say this? She ended up like challenging it and not having to end up doing it. But it looks like this white woman in HR was trying to pass off a white person's responsibility to her. Okay. And I see this white woman and a white dude, I'll see them go across the hallway to where HR is. So it looks like they do have many conversations, because if anybody has seen this on the job, you know, if it's at least 3 or 4 other white people in this one area, you see them talking, and it's like, okay, you kind of get a grasp of they are very comfortable, and they will switch up the conversation when just that small bit of time that you walk into the room, and then when you leave, they go back into their white conversation, I guess I can call it that. But yes, that's another thing where you have the white people who aren't qualified, like I know I've spoken about before. Another white person in a higher tier position will defend the incompetent white person because they're, still white, and would try and get a black person to take on the job that they do. So it's been some issues going on with that in the probate area. But other than that, that's all I have to share. Thanks for allowing me to speak.
Well, I guess first and foremost, whoopee for being safe. He took some time off, he said, and he even got fortunate. He said 2 weeks in a row. They were great at the courthouse. Let people know in advance. Stay safe. Most important one, safe. Let everybody know, and all the rest of. Can't ask for anything better than that. Get through the storm. Hopefully that'll be it for the hurricanes for the foreseeable future. And I guess even bonus points because he had taken time off, and then the courthouse was closed for some of that time. So you get called in and, get some of your PTO back. They end up fighting and brawling about PTO at the courthouse all the time. So that's grand all the way around. He said he was talking to the fella trying to get the envelopes at the mail room or whatever, post office, and the black dude said I guess he had seen him before, and he said, "Man, can't remember the combination. Must be the drugs. Mom doesn't think." He said, "Can't be that." No. So, well, my mom doesn't think so. Now, I think they are voting on recreational cannabis next month in Florida, unless I'm mistaken. I don't know. They have to double check to see. I know they have been talking about that, but either way, man, I don't. Brain computer is important. They already have enough chemicals, and they put lead in all the water, and can't breathe the air, and everything is toxic. I don't know how much we want to add to our diet or intake that people are going to think you messed your brain computer up. You can't even remember the combination to do your job correctly. Like, man, that might not even be it. But man, protect your brain computer. Thinking is critical to replacing white supremacy with justice. He mentioned the non-white staff about being in the segregated area and then the civil area, and he noted it seemed some of the non-white people were sitting in an area where it was a tad darker. Now, he even conceded maybe they did this of their own volition. I've seen that too, where some people are very sensitive about light. They need it to be off, or really moderate, they get headaches or bothers their vision or lots of things. I've seen that before. So it totally could have been that. White people do, however, say, keep them niggers in the dark. We don't know. We just put a asterisk there. We'll maybe solve that mystery along the way to producing justice. He always got funny ones with the photographs, or at least of note. He said the white family came in to do the passport photo. Now, see, maybe they're going to Ireland for Christmas. We don't know. Maybe they're going to Madagascar for Christmas. We don't know. Going to get their passport for the family vacation. Said, little fella, he took the picture. He said, "Oh, Lord, you should take that again. Jesus, you look like little Jeffrey Dahmer." Now, I don't know what that means. He said, little fella was like 9, 10, something like that. Not huge. What he looks like Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, what? What? I don't. You saw did he resemble Jeff Dahmer? Like, you've seen old Dom. Everybody's seen old Dom. Did he actually look like the Wisconsin great?
I'm not too sure. I know that he kind of had, I guess, blonde hair, I guess. I didn't really see him too much. But definitely looked like a child. There was another child as well. And that child, the mom didn't have any comments about that child. Maybe that child had a smile on their photograph, but it was the younger one where she made that Jeffrey Dahmer comparison, and the black person didn't really say anything, and the white family just walked out.
I've heard parents, you know your child. Most instances, you know your child. The parents, I believe it was Brad Pitt, they have news reports, they looked at one of their children, said, oh my gosh, looks like one of those Columbine kids. Been talking about Dill and Red for a while. Like, I've seen that before where, I know my child, look, oh my God, like, look like Dahmer. Look, what is wrong with him? Like, woo, that's even wild to be that young and like, what does he do on a daily basis? Like, what in the world? Anyway, truthfully, even what type of look did he have that would make you think like, oh, there's old Dahmer. Oh, man. Now we get to, he says the probate duties. Now, this is supposed to be important, I would think. People go to the courthouse, important records and all that good stuff, vital information. The black person, they want to get the job, or the black person is supposed to do this. The white person can't get the job done. Now, that's even odd. Now, he did say that they didn't say white person. They just said, Susan can't get the job done. They didn't identify her as a white person, but she can't get the job done, so the black person has to do this. That's, I don't know. I mean, see, when he started all of this, it reminded me, because he said, the white fella, I think connection with HR, when they were doing all this discussion about who's supposed to be doing these probate duties, I was thinking of the white dude who doesn't know how to talk to people. He is incompetent, unprofessional, and doesn't know how to talk to people. Because I think he has all the jobs at the courthouse are. It's not like they got somebody making tater tots. Like, all the jobs at the courthouse are important. So this white dude, he has a job. I think it's also in records. It might not be probate, but it's in records. This dude, is messing up stuff. Unprofessional. Doesn't know how to talk to people, but they let him hang out. And they even get his white homies. They hook him up. They put him up for promotions and other job opportunities. I was thinking of that, I don't know. Sometimes it seems that they don't really mind, You don't have to be competent, accurate. I mean, like I said, I don't think this dude is in the custodial department. I think he does something serious with records, the unprofessional white dude. So that's what I'm saying. He would be fired, or at least, let's put him in a different department. We can get somebody else that we can get another white person, replace him. No big deal. It's not that they recommend him for other jobs. Either way, here, I guess they're not going to repeat that mistake. Say we do need some competent people eventually, so the black person has to do this. Now, I thought it was interesting because he said it seems like part of this might be shoving duties off to black people to do work that is supposed to have been done by a white person. Now that, I've heard that 8 gabillion times. That's standard throughout, because he's told us about them hiring so many white. What I just said, the white, they say he doesn't know how to talk to people like Gus, and he's unprofessional like Gus. He also told us about that white woman. They said, now, Katie, she's going to need a lot of hand-holding. Now, if you hire all these incompetent white people who don't know nothing. Remember the white woman who they needed help. She didn't even know how to do Adobe Photoshop. If you hire all these lame white people who don't know how to turn on a computer or do nothing, yes, you probably will have to you might even have to go and get that black female that's been working there for 20 years that they gave a lame plaque to and get her, because I bet she's competent. Go get her and fork over stuff and get her to do this. Yeah, we get you to do probate and do this and do that and do that. Isn't Kate supposed to be the one? She needs some hand holding. We'll get all that. We get her up to speed. We gonna get it. Like, what? Why don't you just hire competent black people to begin with? Or, at minimum, hire competent white people to begin with. Man. Like, I don't even know how I'd feel about that. Like, if I heard that right, he said the black person's got to get the job for the probate because the white person can't. Well, they didn't say white. They didn't say the white, but the white person can't get the job done. Dang. What? I hope they don't explain it to the black person when they get the job. Like, the reason you got this job is because Ned is incompetent. I wouldn't even feel good about it at all. Like, what? I thought you were supposed to. Well, I guess they did pick the best person, but dang, like, just because we got incompetent white, you got lazy and incompetent white people, so that's why we're giving you the probate duties. Thank you. It doesn't get any better than tacky. That's about all you can expect in the workplace. Do not be thinking this is going to be something to boost my ego and I'm going to build my identity around and all of that. Like, no. Man, that incompetent white, he'll end up being just like the warden who retired, the unprofessional white dude who doesn't know how to talk to people. He'll end up, I don't know how long he's been there already, but he'll end up being there like 40 years. And with no improvements, mind you, but 40 years. He'll get a nice plaque on retirement on his last day. He can ride out into the Florida sun. Did my part for the good folks of North Florida. Any hoodles. Much obliged. Hopefully they'll have no more tornado warnings, fury over for the rest of the year. Maybe we can be greedy and maybe we can get back to all this for 2025. Let's see. I think we nabbed all of our callers and such. Again, we should be here for Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Catch up on what has transpired over the past week or so, hurricanes and all that. I was reminded they have recent reports about how black people are more impacted by hurricanes and natural disasters like all this. So just something to think on. Any hoodles, we'll be here tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Listener-supported counter-racist radio. Hit the blog, racism-notes.blogspot.com. Racism-notes.blogspot.com. PayPal button in the top right corner. You'll see the links beneath for PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. Enormous gratitude to all of the investors who have kept us on the air for 15 years. The Amazon wish list also linked beneath the PayPal button. The wish list on Amazon under Gus T. Renegade. Huge thanks again to all of the investors who've nabbed an item or 5 over all these years. Hopefully, the C.O.W.S has been worthy of your time and energy. That's it. I don't think we missed anyone. Great. Sobriety would be best. It is that time of year and all the nonsense Halloween parties and then the election aspect just to add to it. Like, man, sober. Thinking, and particularly for young people, they want to go out and celebrate with their friends and, man, just remind them it's not just wacky Halloween season. You got lots of drunk drivers. It is election season. People looking to be goofy and violent for no reason. Be mindful. Be alert. Be safe. Creator, we ask that you help us remain patient with other black people, victims of white supremacy. We ask that you help us remain patient with ourselves. Remind us to demonstrate the highest levels of black self-respect at all times, in all places, each and every time we are in contact with another black person. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. No name calling, no gossiping, no throwaway offspring. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. Problem. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.